991-8718.
China says it will remove hefty tariffs on Australian wine.
China imposed tariffs of up to 200% on Australian wine in 2020 after the then Australian Prime Minister called for an objective, independent assessment of how the COVID-19 pandemic began. It cost suppliers an estimated 1.2 billion Australian dollars and left them with the equivalent of 859 Olympic swimming pools of wine in storage.
And that is the BBC's Laura Bicker reporting. A British comedian has been ordered to remove a picture of a hot dog from a poster in the London subway stations for his new stand-up show. Transit bosses say it violates the transit network's ban on junk food advertising. So Ed Gamble replaced the wiener with a cucumber, and the poster was approved. Transport for London has banned ads for foods that are high in fat, sugar, and salt. Townhall.com. Tributes from both sides of the aisle for the late Joe Lieberman.
Senator Lieberman nearly won the vice presidency on the Democratic ticket with Al Gore in the disputed 2000 election.
Your choice is clear. Al Gore and I are the guys who are ready to do the job.
Lieberman was the first Jewish candidate on a major party's presidential ticket. The Democrat turned independent was never shy about veering from the party line. Republican Senator John McCain was leaning strongly towards choosing Lieberman for the Republican ticket as the 2008 GOP convention neared, but he chose Sarah Palin at the last minute. Lieberman was 82 years old. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The White House says it's getting ready to welcome some 40,000 people for its annual Easter egg roll. The big event scheduled for Monday will take place on the South Lawn and the Ellipse. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man on this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah, come on.
I feel the hot wind on my shoulder, and the touch of a world that is older. I hit the switch and check the number. I leave it on and then I slumber. I hear the rhythm ringing through it. Flamenco guitar and cumbia music. I hear the talking of the DJ. The devil listen, what does he say? I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican radio. Yeah.
Broadcasting live from high atop the J.P. White Building in downtown Roswell, New Mexico. It's Mornings with Mike Winters on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM.
Is that what I sound like when I talk?
Now, here's your host, Mike Winters.
And good morning, one and all. Welcome to Mornings with Mike Winters. I am he. That would be me, Mike Winters. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Yes.
It's going to be a warm one.
Mm-hmm.
Pushing 80 today.
It is.
Yeah, a little breezy.
I'll take it.
Tomorrow work.
We're in that weird season where everything is just sort of like up for grabs.
Yeah.
Any day, just like we're going to reach in a bag and be like, look at that snow. Who knew? Intermittent blizzardry. Neat.
It's, there's a show on Food Network or one of those food channels.
Mm-hmm.
It's another Guy Fieri show.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's
sure he's either involved in executive producer or starring.
Well, it's like called Tournament of Champions, and so they get all these chefs that are all over all these shows,
right?
Like all of them, and they compete in like this round robin March Madness style cook off.
Okay,
but they have a machine. It's like a big slot machine. And
I've seen this one.
And so they use it to pick like what the ingredients are going to do. And that's our weather. That slot machine. It's like, all right, snow, high winds,
and asparagus. What? All right, well, y'all's pea's gonna smell funny.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be windy.
But but the show's it's not actually a bad show to watch. It's kind of entertaining.
Oh
but,
yeah,
but the thing that gets me is they always pick ingredients that you never. It's like it's some weird root that only grows in the darkest parts of Asia or something. And you're like, what is this?
Radicchio, Canadian bacon, and an Uncrustable.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, let's see what kind of gourmet nonsense I can come up with for this.
See, this is a leaf that you can only get in the jungles of the Amazon. Make a salad out of it. We're also giving you mussels and pine nuts. Go ahead.
Jimmy's gym sock.
Yeah. So, but then they make food that's like all fancy, so it's pretty good. So, but anyway,
How did you get a balsamic reduction out of that?
I think our weather comes from that slot machine thing that they use. So, happy Thursday.
I just can't help but remember that weird, like, year and a half where Snoop Dogg hosted Joker's Wild.
Snoop Dogg will host anything.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg will do anything you give him a check for. I learned that early on. There was a couple of my friends in Albuquerque who were like aspiring rappers.
Right.
They told me if you send him a check, he will put a verse down on your track.
No, I'm sure
I have a couple
he
of friends
will.
who have a Snoop Dogg feature.
I'm sure
on their SoundCloud track.
He was that what's that thing you can Vine? No, not Vine. The one where you
Cameo.
get Cameo. Thank you. The one he was doing that before that was a thing.
He's just doing Cameo IRL.
Yeah.
Well, look at Lil Dicky made a whole career out of it. His first song, he basically went to different like friends who were rappers and were like, "Hey, can I like shoot my video at your house?
Right.
Can I like shoot my video in front of your Lambo?"
But Lil Dicky used that to get there.
Yeah.
Snoop was already there.
Oh, no, he was there, and then he just started working his way down.
It's just like
It's the Shaq approach.
Yeah.
You make a name for yourself, and then you slowly spread it around.
Every single product known
That's
to
right.
man.
While it's worth something, you get that name out there to every single entity you can.
Maybe we ought to do that. Like, you know how like they have all these rankings and lists of everything. Maybe we should do a celebrity hawk watch, and we'll get like the leaders in who's hawking the most product celebrities. And you know, your Shaq will be up in there.
Mm-hmm.
Snoop Dogg, Peyton Manning. There's a few people. Eli Manning, all the Mannings.
Oh, of course. There's a Drake in there.
You know, there's a few. Drew Barrymore, she's hawking a bevy of products now, and mostly makeup world things, but she's all over commercials too. So, almost like, you know, what's funny. Speaking of Drew Barrymore, is I was watching. Matter of fact, I was watching the Nickelodeon documentary.
I was hoping you weren't going to bring that one up, but yeah.
Well, it's indirect.
You're right.
So in that documentary, they're showing the times of the early 2000s and 90s, and you know, and they were showing like a lot of the celebrities, you know, your Edward Furlongs and all those, you know, child actors turned, you know, in that 90s, 2000s were now 20, 30 somethings that were, you know, the it crowd.
Right.
And Drew Barrymore was a part of that group.
Oh, very
and
much.
And so they showed a picture of Drew from like probably late 90s, and she literally looked like the 90s Nirvana, grunge, cigarette in the hand.
Half browed. I mean, brow furrowed. She was doing like hitting parties up and drinking and doing drugs when she was like 9, 10.
But the part that gets me now is like after I watched that, like later that day, I'm on regular TV. There's a commercial for Maybelline or one of these.
Right.
There's Drew Barrymore again. I'm like, oh, how the people have. Because then I'm looking at her, I'm like, wow, Drew Barrymore is not Drew Barrymore.
No, if you and
like
that's
you look at 90s Drew Barrymore and look at her now, like, wow, she went from teenage angst to soccer mom and that whole, and now, but she's still trying to be.
If you look at any of them that were affected by that,
yeah.
I mean, and I was doing this when I was watching the documentary. I even pointed this out. Like, if you look at any of the still pictures or whatever, you can do this thing where you cover up the bottom half of their face and just look at their eyes
and kind of see.
And you can really, there's just like they're dead behind the eyes. It's just sad. But they're like smiling because they were taught to smile.
Yeah. But you almost wonder too, because hindsight's 20/20.
Right.
Like, would you have thought the same thing had you done that 20 years ago?
I don't know.
And I mean, now that we know, and it's like, well, now I see it.
Right.
But you wonder, like, even if you did it then, it's like, you know, I would like to think we would, but I don't think we would.
I'm telling you though, dude, and I don't know why it was that specific episode of Victorious that was on, but it was like perfect example of everything that was wrong that documentary talks about.
Yeah.
I mean, it was highly inappropriate. Now, I never watched Victorious. That was beyond my generation.
Gotcha.
Like I watched, all that in the Amanda Show. I watched Kenan and Kel. I sort of like dipped a toe into Drake, and I shouldn't say it like that, into the show Drake and Josh. Yeah.
Sorry.
It was funny.
I saw the documentary.
It was funny for a time when I was a teenager, and then I sort of like moved on to other things.
Yeah.
But for a time, it had its moment.
Yeah. So I was too old for all that, so I missed it altogether.
Yeah.
So.
You learned what a woman was.
Well, I was trying.
Yeah. God knows I was trying. Damnedest thing, they just wouldn't let you.
I was trying. It's just a boy trying to learn.
Didn't have no internet back then. Had to go hands on. All I had was a Sears catalog in the woods. Jim Sock and a dream.
I'm a go-getter. Didn't always got.
Never could get.
All right. On that note, let's do the rundown.
Yes.
We do have a full slate for you for today's show. Actually, here in just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Ward 1 City Councilor Christina Arnold and Superintendent of the Water Department, Robert Glenn, will join us. So we'll talk a little bit about, of course, water is always in the news here in Roswell, particularly with, the water bills and the way they're restructuring things right now. So we'll talk a little bit about the sausage being made there.
There you
In the 8 o'clock hour at 8:15, I believe it'll be Hunter Spindle joining us from the District Attorney's Office. Deputy DA will join us. He may have some of the others with him, but I think it'll be Hunter. And so he was actually supposed to be on last week, and he called me a day or two later. He's like, he goes, I'm so sorry, Space. And so we got him. He's going to be on today.
In lieu of an edible arrangement, we said, no, just come back on.
But he was their DA's office. They probably had 27 things going on.
Busy.
And then in the 9 o'clock hour, about 9:15, Crystal Noble with the Humane Society will join us and give us an update on pets available for adoption and what's going on at the thrift store and all that kind of stuff. So, plus we'll have all of your features that include the newses of the local and national variety. If we have some time today or tomorrow too, I had an interview yesterday with Aldo. He's with the Do Portugal Circus, which, by the way, tomorrow night and Saturday, they're opening nights out at the Eastern New Mexico State Fairgrounds. This is the circus that were here visiting when COVID hit. And they ended up calling the Eastern New Mexico State Fairgrounds home for about a year and a half.
Like 4 months. Yeah, just that was. I felt so bad for them.
So, so they're back, and since they were here a year, they got like friends and a life here.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it too at the time. That's probably the longest they've been in any one place in
Aldo
maybe
told
their
me that
whole life.
Aldo said that during the interview yesterday. He goes, that my time in Roswell during COVID was the longest I've ever been in one place ever.
Because his father, he's a generational. His father
was
a circus performer
family.
also.
Yeah, his whole family grew up in the circus.
Right.
On the road his entire life. So Roswell's probably the closest thing he's got to a permanent home.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to try to work that interview in over the next 2 days here as well, too. But before we do any of that, let's get you up to date on the weather. A little bit of good, a little bit of bad.
It's spring.
It's the facts of life. Get the both, and there you have.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. Pretty mild today and a little bit breezy. Sunshine across the entire area. Will be in the mid to upper 70s. Wind gusting at about 25 miles an hour. Overnight, some clouds drifting through, mid to upper 40s and breezy. And then we'll get a little bit of cloud cover tomorrow morning, but sunny in the afternoon. And a little more windy. Will hit about 80. The weekend looks fair. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
Thank you, Steve. Currently, I scrolled up too far, 35 degrees here in Roswell. Humidity's at 44% with winds out of the north at 3 miles per hour. Today going to be a warm one. Sunny skies, 78 the expected high. Winds will be out of the south, 5 to 10 miles per hour this morning, but those winds will pick up 15 to 20 miles per hour later this afternoon. Mostly cloudy tonight with an overnight low of 45 degrees. South winds 15 to 20 miles per hour. They'll drop down 10 to 15 after midnight tonight. Friday, partly cloudy, looking at a high of 85 tomorrow. Yeah, your Good Friday's going to be warm. But with it coming winds, matter of fact, we do have a fire weather watch that will kick in at noon tomorrow and remain in effect through 7 p.m. They're talking south winds 5 to 10 in the morning, picking up 15 to 20 for the afternoon. But I'm guessing with the breezes and the dry conditions, even though those winds aren't, really bad winds compared to what we've seen, still a good recipe for fire and all that. I imagine it might get upgraded to red flag warnings here as we get a little closer to tomorrow. For Friday night, partly cloudy, overnight low of 49 degrees, southwest winds 15 to 20, dropping down 5 to 10 after midnight. And then for the weekend, Saturday, partly sunny, high of 83 on Saturday, southwest winds 5 to 15. For your Easter Sunday, partly cloudy and breezy, highs near 80 degrees. And it looks like when you head back to work and school Monday, sunny, breezy with a high of 71. All right, it is 7:18. We're going to take about a 2.5-minute break, and then we're going to have Robert Glenn, Lorenzo Sanchez with the Water Department join us here on the other side. Don't go away.
To plant or not to plant? That is the question. Hi, this is Jim Gill from Roswell Seed Company. Our tomato plants and pepper plants are ready to go. If you plant them now, you might have homegrown tomatoes and peppers before anyone else, or the frost might kill them. As Clint Eastwood would say, do you feel lucky? You'll either be the smartest gardener in the county, or you'll get to replant them all over again. I say go for it. You'll get more practice and we'll get more business. This is Jim Gill from Roswell Seed Company, and I apologize to William Shakespeare.
Oasis Computers has been Roswell's trusted source for home and small business computers for over 30 years, and they continue to be your best resource for computer repairs, operating system upgrades, web root managed antivirus, special orders, and more. Oasis Computers is now open from 8 to 1, Monday through Friday to better serve you. Service calls by appointments and after-hour appointments are available too. Stop by Oasis Computers at 1703 North Garden or call or text 575-625-9141 for even faster service.
Are you or a loved one having a hard time getting to your medical appointments? At Artesia General Hospital, we believe that transportation should never be a barrier to good health. That's why we're excited to announce our new non-emergency medical transportation services. Each of our vans is wheelchair accessible, and our friendly certified drivers go the extra mile by meeting you at your doorstep and ensuring a comfortable ride to your Artesia General Hospital services. Rides are available Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Schedule your ride today by visiting artesiageneral.com/transportation or calling 575-736-8211.
At Richland Motors, it's never been easier to sell or trade your current car, truck, or SUV for a newer model to hit the road in. Even if you don't purchase from Richland, they want to buy your vehicle for top dollar. But if you do buy from Richland, don't forget, they're the home of the powertrain warranty for life. That's a whole lot of confidence for you. See Richland for details. 2nd and Sycamore and 1309 Southeast Main.
Sign up today for the 2-day Reload Camp with Coach Tom George, Saturday and Sunday, April 13th and 14th in Artesia, New Mexico.
The goal of Reload is to take our camp to locations that don't always have a lot of opportunities.
The 2-day Reload Camp is for all ages, all positions, and features college, NFL, and local coaches.
They do it because they want to impact young people. I'm not saying every professional and college coach is like that, but the ones that come to my camp are, because I don't have it any other way.
Saturday and Sunday, April 13th and 14th in Artesia, New Mexico. Sign up today at QBimpact.com.
Here's a Mornings with Mike Winters fun fact. More than 50% of Americans fall asleep on their sides. That's way better than falling asleep on someone else's side. Here's Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 21 minutes after 7 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning, Robert Glenn, who's superintendent of the water department here, and Lorenzo Sanchez, who's utility director of the water department here. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for spending some time with us. I do appreciate it. I know generally, I'm guessing your line of work is one of those kind of military hurry up and wait moments where, sometimes there's times of nothing, and then there's like 60 things going on at once. And like, is that accurate? Or
we usually have 60 things going on all the time.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't know if there was those moments of lull and then all of a sudden one thing goes wrong and all right, here we go. Because I would imagine, because water department, what you guys do, everything's connected to everything.
Yes.
And not that this is unique to the water department, but every other department needs your resources to do their job. You know what I mean? Everything's impacted by what you guys do here. So
that's one of the funny things that when we go out to the career fairs and stuff.
Yeah.
We always set up our booth next to the fire department. We have a little sign that says even firemen need heroes. Join the water department.
Right, because all they got is axes and stuff in the water department. Maybe a few extinguishers. But and so and of course it was pretty cool. Thanks to Counselor Arnold. About a year or so ago, I did get a chance to check out the wastewater treatment plant and see how the sausage is made there and how that works. And it's pretty cool. It's an intricate dance, the way the whole system works with, how, the water that comes out of your sink in your homes to where it goes and how it gets back into the system. And, that it's a pretty intricate system.
It's a delicate balance for sure.
And I don't think so. It's kind of interesting that I don't think a lot of people realize that, you get your water bill from the city each month and you pay your water bill and you turn on your sink and the water comes out, you flush the toilet, the stuff goes away, you're good to go. Life's good. You don't realize that there's so like that. And I know people right now with the way the water, because there's been kind of with the water meters and so we're getting we're seeing rate changes and everything else going on because we're technology and we'll get into that here. But I don't think a lot of people realize what it takes to make water come from the ground or wherever it came from originally to your home and back again. And it is so much science, so much interesting stuff there that I think at the end of the day, if you really realize what it took to get water to your house and back, you probably wouldn't be mad because your water bill's $20 more a month or something. But now I get it. People are on budgets and everything. But when you see the amount of what it took to get water from here to here, you're getting a good deal on that. I imagine it costs so much
and
money.
That's one of the things that we have arguments about all the time is people say that water is a basic human right. And they're correct.
Yeah.
Water is. But what you have to pay for is having it pumped out of the ground, purified, and then transported to the tap in your home.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what costs the money.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's and this is why you're the city, the public utilities are kind of handling on all this to do all that. But talk a little bit about as far as and I'm trying, I don't want to jump all over the place here, but talk a little bit about, explain to people, because we're seeing the city council talking about rate changes. We're seeing, we're seeing a lot of influx in water bills and things like that. There is a very good reason for all this. And I kind of, can you give just a rudimentary explanation of what, don't the details and all that we don't need, but just so people can get a basic concept of why there is a rate change and what's going on here. Because I know people are complaining, and we all do. Well, prices going up, and we live in a COVID world where everything's going up. It's like, well, of course. And I'm sure there's a little of that. The cost of doing business is the cost of doing business. But, when you have equipment that's outdated and things like that, then you replace it with more accurate equipment, and you're like, uh-oh. We're processing right. We weren't charging right. We weren't reading the meters right. You were getting more water than you were actually being charged for, things like that. And now we're having the correction. And sure, it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, but at the same time, the city just can't be running around putting out more water and not charging enough for it. The city's not a business to make money per se. But it's not in the business to lose money every single day either.
And that's the one thing that people need to realize is the water department, wastewater, airport, solid waste, they're all what are called enterprise funds.
Sure.
And it's basically the city running a business.
Right.
It's not supposed to take money out of the general fund, all that stuff. It's supposed to be a self-contained,
self-sufficient.
So we're just like, Excel, the gas company, all those guys. So if you think of us as that, and then the city council is our board of directors.
Sure.
And then the citizens are our stockholders. They're the ones that pay the bills.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So how this all started was back in June of 2024. We were doing the budget for the next year. And we noticed that the council had requested $150,000 to do a rate study. I don't like giving other people money. I'm kind of stingy with my budget.
So you're like, hey, wait a minute.
We were going, and I talked to Lorenzo, and we approached the finance committee and the city manager and said, let us give a shot at this.
Sure. It's like, hey, we seem to know this water business pretty good. Let us take a look.
Well, and the interesting thing is the American Water Works Association puts out a manual, and it's step 1, step 2, step 3, how to do a rate study.
Gotcha.
Why pay somebody to do that when we can do it?
It's almost, is that like your version of like a YouTube video for us? Like us common folks? It's
sure.
Like, you know how we like, hey, I can build a shed. There's a YouTube video on it.
You would be surprised how often we use YouTube. So it took us about 8 months to put all the information together.
Gotcha.
And we found a whole bunch of issues, and we had to work through them, get the right information. What the goals of the study were is we wanted to look into the future 5 years and see what we needed to do. And we had to, when you do that, you have to first find out what it costs for each customer to do water.
Gotcha.
And that's how you start
a basic
out.
breakdown of what does it cost to put water in this house.
So we did all that. And some of the things that we found, though, is that we needed to provide more accountability and transparency to the public.
Gotcha.
That was one of the things that when I've talked to people out there, they go, where does my money go?
It's like I pay a bill every month and...
what does this pay for?
Yeah.
And in the past, money's been moved around that probably shouldn't have, but what's happened has happened.
The barn door's already been open there. We can't, can't close it and expect the horse to still be there.
One of the things that we have never done as a city is had a dedicated infrastructure reinvestment plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that should have started 150 years ago when we put the first piece of pipe in the ground.
Gotcha.
We should have had a plan on how to replace that pipe, at some point in time.
Sure.
The lifespan of infrastructure is about 50 years.
And it went about, double past that? Something like that?
Oh,
75
there's some
years?
of it that's...
about 75, 80 years?
Yeah. Very old infrastructure.
Yeah.
So,
which, by the way, was all put in at the same time and all started going down about the same time. And that's why you're seeing this not only here, but really all over the state and everywhere else where you're seeing.
Yeah, and this isn't a problem just in Roswell.
Yeah, this is
if
unique
you look
to
at it, it's all across the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's having the same problem. So one of the things when we're setting up rates is we have to make sure they're fair and equitable. One of the issues that we had with the old rates is Grandma Smith on the corner was paying the same base rate as Walmart.
Ah, I gotcha. Makes sense.
And
Grandma's not tapping into the water nearly as much as Walmart.
Walmart or those big places.
Even if Grandma has like an Olympic-sized pool in her backyard, is not tapping into what Walmart is.
So that is one of the things that you'll see in the new rate structure is it's more fair and equitable across the board.
Gotcha.
What the stress you put on the system, you're going to pay for that.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of, you use what you use, pay for what you use kind of thing. And if you need more resources, then you're going to pay more for those resources, and someone doesn't need as much of those resources too.
So one of the other things that we have is, I believe in the past, what they've tried to do is keep the rates kind of artificially low.
Okay.
And how they've done that is use Water Trust Board loans and funding over the years. But now we have $38.2 million in loans out there, and it costs us $2.35 million every year just to service that debt.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
It is. Can we get one of those consolidation jobbers?
I got one of those credit card applications the other day, $150,000.
Can we transfer some of the debt to a lower interest?
But what it comes right down to is our expenses are greater than our revenue.
Right. And that's a bad recipe in any business, even a government business.
Yeah, and that's even without starting to do any kind of infrastructure reinvestment.
Gotcha. Which, by the way, and that's the thing. It's like you said, you're already dealing with a water system that is antiquated and needs to be updated and maintenance to modern standards. But at the same time, like you said at the beginning, when they put it in the next time, we've got to plan for the next one after that too, which means, okay, what's the plan in whatever the expectancy for this, 50 years, 20 years, whatever the new stuff is we're doing now, what's that next plan? And again, that all costs money. And by the way, if you're losing money, but you've got to still, because guess what? It's not like a business where you say, oh, well, we can't do it. We close the doors, because you can't just shut down the water department because they're out of money. That doesn't work that way.
But unfortunately, there's places across the state that are doing that right now.
And so this is, this is what's got to be done. It's got to, if the rates need to adjust to reflect the actual use of that. And that's what's really going on at the end of the day is we weren't measuring accurately the amounts of water being used and things like that. And people, and like you said, you're getting us, everyone's paying the same rate here where whether you use a gallon of water or a million gallons of water, you're paying the same. And that seemed a little off kilter. So it's really a cocktail of all these things that you're fixing. And so there's some growing pains right now until we get the system right, basically.
There is. And it I'm not gonna lie to anybody. It's going to be painful.
Sure.
But it's something that we have to do.
Right. For the future of the city, and for the fact that if you want to keep having water, your toilet flushing and your water, and by the way, we're a city that wants to grow and expand, and every time we add more people, that adds more strain on the infrastructure, which means, and by the way, anytime a business or a home or a neighborhood or anybody even thinks about putting something here, they're talking to the water department, utility people, and then making sure that the logistics of what they're trying to do jives with what the city can offer to them. So you have to plan for the future. It's like, oh, we're going to put a neighborhood out here. Wonderful. You just can't start plopping houses down there. You got to, how's the roads going to get out there? How's the water and electricity going to get out there? All right, well, and that's what you guys are dealing with on every day out here. So yeah, when you see your water bill off here and you're like, why? I didn't used to pay this. Well, it's because of all these things we're talking about here. This is why.
And one of the things that they had talked about is, and I heard this on Facebook several times, is why can't we do this incrementally over years? And we could. Honestly, we could do that. Our problem is right now, is the example that we're using, is we have about 47 miles of critical infrastructure that needs to be repaired soon.
It doesn't have the luxury of, we'll get to it eventually. Yeah. It needs it right now.
With the new rate structure, it creates $4 million in an infrastructure reinvestment plan. With that $4 million, it's still going to take us about 14 years to do that 47 miles.
By the time you do that, you're going to be behind with the others.
Yes.
Costs continue to increase.
Sure. And in 14 years, technology probably changes again, and you're probably, it's kind of like the road department. They really have like this big circle, and they start here working on everything, and by the time they get around, it's back to start working on the other thing again. It's probably very similar in the water department too.
I'll give you a quick example. We had a water line that we had scheduled for replacement this year, a budget item. We had budgeted $1 million as a previous cost of replacing that line.
Gotcha.
It's about 3/4 of a mile. We had engineering department redo it and reprice everything, do the contract, get the price of piping, everything else, cost of labor, construction, concrete replacement, everything included, and it came out to $3.9 million. So prices has gone up 3 to 4 times
Absolutely.
the original cost. I mean, this is unheard of times where you can buy cast iron, ductile iron versus PVC, and the cost is the same.
Wow.
PVC has increased tremendously.
And is that all because of demand? Just because the demand for one's higher than the other, so it just impacted the cost that much, basically, just because? Well, still COVID impact, I'm guessing.
COVID impact. You've seen the prices go up, but you haven't seen them come back down.
Sure. Well, and it's true. Like for an example, I saw something online on social media earlier in the week here, and it was back to restaurants, but it's kind of the same thing you're talking about here. It's like, and they were literally, this restaurant was saying 5 years ago, a bag of flour cost this. Today, that bag of flour, and it costs like 6 times the amount. And they're just running down the grocery list of items they use on a daily basis at the store, and how it's at a minimum double the price of what it used. And that's the low end. Sometimes it was 4 or 5 times the price of what it was before. I'm sure that is very much true in every aspect, construction world, material cost, and that also fluctuates the other thing, labor costs and all that stuff. That does. I mean, granted, you guys work with city employees, and those guys are, but still, you're competing to keep those people with the private sector and everything else, and to compete with that, you got to pay them.
And prices just continue to go up. Another just real quick example is we had our main reservoirs up on Country Club and Brown Road back in 2013. They had an engineer's estimate to rehab those reservoirs at $2.8 million. We're now paying $8 million for the same rehab now.
Wow.
So prices continue to increase throughout the years. It's not going to get cheaper.
Gotcha.
It's only going to get more expensive. So this isn't something that we're happy to do, this
Sure.
rate increase at all. It affects all of our families.
Sure. If you could do it for the money that's coming in now, you would absolutely do it.
Absolutely.
You're not saying, all right, this is but we're paying for what we got to fix, but we're also paying to get caught up. And when the next phase of what we got to do, because it's going to happen. It's when you put in a pipe, it will break at some point. It's just we haven't invented indestructible pipes yet.
We have piping back from 30s, 40s, 50s. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's way past its 50
Sure.
year life expectancy. So we have to get to replacing that infrastructure immediately. That way we can leave it for the next generations moving forward.
Well, and that's just exactly. That's just it. Here is the day that it's you work in that one industry that no one cares until something stops working. The day the toilet stops flushing, the day you turn on the sink and nothing comes out, that's when war starts.
It's a very thankless job. That's when we get acknowledged.
People
They go to their faucet and there's no water.
You're the offensive lineman in football of it's like as long as you're doing your job, no one hears about you or cares about you. Screw up, everybody and your uncle's looking at you.
That's about it.
That's the offensive lineman of the utility world is the water department here. But really, this is what we, and I get it. People, and I get it. Budgets, money. You're like, dude, you're hitting me here, and I'm on a fixed income, and my water bill just, went up 50% or whatever that number is, and it's like I get it. But at the same time, this is the cost. We have to do this because if we don't, then what we were talking about at the beginning. The other alternatives, cutting back water, limiting your resources to you, and I would hate. We're very blessed with the aquifers and the water and the way we have a good amount of water for folks living in the desert. We're in a pretty good situation there. You do not hear on the news and everything like you hear. Oh, water your lawn on odd days, or license. All the weird rules that ordinances that cities put in place to limit your. You don't hear about that here in Roswell. You find that odd, don't you? It's like, hey, we live in a desert. Because of this aquifer, because of the resource we do have. It's the hardest water ever known to man, but there's plenty of it. It's really hard, but there's a whole lot of it. So I'll never forget. Just wrote my grandfather. He owned for many years a water equipment company. He built water softeners and up in upstate New York. That was his job for many years. So he probably knows a lot about what you guys do for a living. I remember this was years ago. I bought my first house, and as a gift, he goes, "I'm buying you a water. So I'm going to ship you a water softener to put it in." And so he goes, "Send me a sample of your water." And I sent it to him, and he goes, "Oh my God." And I know you know exactly. He was like, "Oh, I've never seen water this hard ever." But that's the thing is, we have plenty of it here. And one of these days I'd like to, and I know, and this is probably a whole nother conversation. And this is because this gets confusing with water rights and, what we do to Texas and what I'd love to talk a little bit about that one day and how much that impacts what you guys do as far as the city goes. Is that more state level stuff?
That gets water rights are a beast of their own.
I would say there's always the running joke about whiskeys for drinking and waters for fighting.
Yes.
That's kind of
that's about it.
This area is the reason that started.
And at some point in time, it's going to be, if you want our water, come try and take it.
Yeah, exactly. But and so one day, I'd love to just one day when you all have a free day like that happens. But and you come in and talk that side of the stuff here. But really, the PowerPoint that you have, is that available that you sent me? Can folks see that on the city website right now?
That is on the city website,
Okay.
and it's also on the city's Facebook page.
Very good. If you go to the city's main Roswell-nm.gov,
Yes.
if not the Connect site. That's if you want to go to the zoo or something like that. But if you want to pay your water bill or have a question for your city councilors, Roswell-nm.gov. That's the government website where you can, actually, too, if you want to find out about the library and stuff, it's all there, too. But you can see there's a awesome plan that Robert's put together, a PowerPoint. That I'm assuming that's what you present to city council.
Yes.
At there. And so you, the public, can go back and check that out, too. And, of course, you can always... All the city council meetings are there's a link there at the city website. You can go back and watch them. And was it the last city meeting that you did this presentation, or was
No,
it?
actually, the first one what we did this to was the Kiwanis Club.
Okay.
Last week, and we're going to be out visiting.
Doing
Clubs.
it in various
we're
other.
and then we'll have some public meetings out there.
Matter of fact, I'm guessing if there's a civic organization or group that would like to have you speak at it, reach out to the water department.
We would love to hear
and,
from you.
we will send. I don't know. Do y'all rock paper scissors on which one you guys have to go do the
No,
talk?
we usually go together.
Okay, got you. Come together, tag team. So when he's in the corner and needs the help, and you come tag in.
It does.
That way, if somebody decides to start shooting, I can hide behind
Absolutely.
them.
He's like, yeah, right, yeah. But please talk about and ask these questions. Like you said at the beginning, there's a lot of transparency issues at the beginning when you started going through this, and we're trying to correct all that. So if you have questions, if you don't understand why, please ask the questions. Reach out. Talk to the call the water department. Talk to your city councilors. That's what they're there for. And they'll be happy to explain or try to get you to at least have an understanding of why it is. And I get it. You may not love it. I hate paying more money too. Just like you said, I hate giving out money. But at the end of the day, this is a necessary cost. This is something that's got to be done because if we want to ensure that the water keeps flowing, your toilets keep flushing, and your grandkids' toilets keep flushing, and what we need to prepare for that. And it's everything we're doing today is now going to impact what the next generation's doing. And just like what we're dealing with today is the stuff from previous, put it this way, this stuff was pretty good at one point. It's been so long. And so, it's outlived its usefulness here and it's the nature of the beast. We gotta fix it. Otherwise you're not going to like the alternative. You're really not going to like the alternative.
So the next time that this comes before the city council will be at the April 11th.
Okay, so here in a week or two.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's ordinance 24-05.
Okay.
And actually what we're doing is we're repealing and replacing chapter 26.
Okay.
That thing's 40 years old.
Antiquated.
Yes.
It's got stuff that is not relevant or useful to us today.
We're just going to go through, throw all the old one out, and we have new stuff going in.
Good deal.
That ordinance we've actually been working on for about 2 years.
I'm about to say it's probably been in committees and everything,
Yes.
which I'm sure you two gentlemen have probably been very much a focal point of that whole process here. I don't think a lot of people realize that, especially from the department side. Whenever you see something that goes before city council for a final vote, odds are it spent a long time, months, maybe years, in committees and everything, getting polished, groomed up, and made into something that is a presentable ordinance or whatever we're trying to do here. Once it gets to the city council, it's pretty polished up, and they're just saying, yeah, it's a good idea, yay or nay. That's pretty much.
This ordinance, when we started it was going through infrastructure committee, and we were going a section a month. And we would go through it, make the changes that we needed to. The thing I hear all the time is, oh, you guys do all this in secret. We don't.
These are public meetings.
They're all public
Y'all
meetings.
just don't come.
Yeah.
Every one of these meetings are open to the public. The only time a meeting is not open to the public is when they're discussing legal matters or personnel matters. That's it. Even city council, everything is open except for when they say we're going to closed sessions because they either got to talk about personnel matters where they got to talk with lawyers. And governments have the same right you do. You have a right to talk to your lawyer in private without other people listening.
Yes.
So that's what they do. So other than that, everything's open to public. And a matter of fact, citizens are asked to serve on a lot of these committees. A lot of times when there's, the housing committees or, they want input from the public on those committees to do all that stuff. So not only you're invited to meetings, a lot of times they'd love to have you serve on them too.
Get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So please, if you do, and again, go to the city's website and you can see all the meetings at every single committee, from the cemetery board to the water board to everything in between. You'll see when their meetings are, when they're scheduled, and what times, where and when, and by the fact, whenever they have to cancel one, they have to send out a public notice every time. It's a whole rigmarole when they announce one of these meetings, one to cancel it or to plan it. There's a whole process of steps they have to do to ensure what you're talking about, that the public knows it's available.
And we had a meeting on this when the new council came in. It was the end of January.
Okay.
And it was a public workshop. And I hear all the time on Facebook, well, nobody ever listens to us. Nobody wants, the council just does what they want. We had a couple gentlemen in that workshop that stood up, and we were trying to decide how to take care of rental properties.
Okay.
Do we keep it in the landlord's name? Do we put it in the tenant's name? How do we do that? We had two gentlemen that are landowners stood up and talked to the council about that, and it actually helped make that decision.
Absolutely. Well, and that's important because let's face it, your city councilors or the different committees, they're smart people. They're willing, they're helping everything, but they're not experts in everything. And to serve on this thing, maybe they don't have a lot of experience as a landlord or something like that. So that input is valuable to give them insight when it does come, because they're thinking, because it may go one way. It's like, tenants can do it or whatever. And I'm not giving the example. I'm just giving the example here. And the citizen may come up and say, well, yeah, that sounds great on paper, but this is what happens in reality. And now they're like, oh, okay, we need to think about that. So
and that's the kind of stuff that we need on the staff level.
Yeah.
Because, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I need to go back and tweak this and fix this. And
that's why we have these meetings. That's why city council listens to the public before any decision's made or everything else, and offers that opportunity. So if there's information that maybe city council doesn't have that should have, that's where they get it. It's not just a place to complain or not complain, and that's what a lot of people do. And sure, that's your right. If you're displeased with something, this is your right to tell them in a professional way. But at the same time, it's also they're saying, look, I get what you're trying to do, but these are the problems you're going to create, and these are the ones you're going to fix. This is what you're doing here, and a lot of times the public is the more expert on some of that, because there's people that's what they do all day for a living. And so that's important. So please come to these meetings, get involved. That's what you're saying here is the public is available and offered an opportunity. You've got to choose to engage and participate.
Decisions are made by those that show up.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
It's just no different than voting, and they tell people to go vote and all that. You don't realize city elections, how many times a city councilor's decided by like 5 votes.
Yes.
It happens all the time here. So get involved. If you want to see your city better, the only people going to make it better is the people that live in it. And you need to get involved with that. So, and if you have those questions, come out, reach out. That's what you guys do. You want to make sure people are happy with their water and everything. You'd love to people come by and you just see like cakes and cupcakes and stuff, because people are like, man, water's great. Every time I come to work, someone's leaving me a plate of brownies or something. That's what they want to do. That's what, it's one of those things. But they want to hear it. That's what you're trying to fix the system. So if there's things that you guys don't know about, you want to hear about that stuff. And so please get involved. Come to these meetings. Go online, read the entire PowerPoint presentation so you can understand exactly, why it's being done this way. And to be honest, maybe you know some stuff and you look at it and say, you know what? I see what they're doing here. If we tweak this a little bit, talk to them. This is how things get fixed.
Yes.
It's glacial and we'll have to have 7 meetings about it, but this is how it gets fixed. You know what I mean? So good deal. about out of time. Is there anything we definitely want to get out here that you guys want to share that I just
The one thing I did want to let the public know about is one of the things that's happened in the past is that the money has been moved out of our account and moved to other places.
Gotcha.
This ordinance fixes that problem. It actually goes in and creates restricted accounts for the emergency reserve fund, infrastructure reinvestment, debt service, capital outlay, and bad debt and the assistance program.
Okay. So this stops that. So now they just can't come in and say, that money's we need it over here for parks or whatever it is.
The council can do it. They can move that money, but they actually have to do it by ordinance.
Gotcha. So they have
to do the public notice.
They got to ask somebody.
Meetings. Yeah,
right.
They basically have to ask the public if it's okay to do that.
And the public has to say, yeah, that's good. And and hopefully, maybe we get into a world where the water department's efficient in doing that, and it's making a little money, and it's like, all right, we can help out the parks or whatever, but we ain't there yet. So, but this keeps that to where they can't just rob Peter to pay Paul here in this situation.
The other thing that you'll start seeing is in your water bills, there's going to be flyers probably every other month or so that's going to tell you how much money we've brought in, how much money's gone out, and what we spent it on.
Gotcha. So again,
that's right to know.
Well, exactly. So you can see what it is and have a complete, transparent, itemized. This is what happening to and then of course, if things don't, then come to the meetings. Come here and say, why is it this way? What's going on? Awesome. I love what's going on here. This is what it is. So you're an active participant in what's going on and understanding, because like we said, water is a very, 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 very important thing in this. It's gold here. And if you say what's more valuable, money, most people say nothing except I'd say water right now here in this part of the country. Water.
One last thing I'd like to do is thank the citizens out there that when they see our guys out working in front of their houses or doing a mainline break, and they bring them water, they bring them cookies. We've had people bring them pizza and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't know how much that means to those crew members out there.
I would imagine. Yeah, because it's got to be cool when people do random acts of kindness for you for no reason. It does put a special place.
Or even just walk by and, hey, what are you doing? Thanks for what you're doing.
Well, and I know, because I'm sure there's days where they're in the pipe or in the hole and something breaks, and then they're mad and upset, and then someone shows up with a pizza or hey, here's some lemonade or something, and you're like, yeah, and all of a sudden your mood changes, and you're appreciated. People love to be appreciated. And
yes.
And like you said, working in the water can be a thankless job sometimes, so it's nice when the public sees and any civil servant, our law enforcement, all that. I mean, we're so thankful. Our waste management folks, our water, we're so appreciative. But let's face it, police, fire, they get a little bit more shine in that world just because. And I'm not saying
you get to see it.
They're all deserving of it, but sometimes there ain't a bunch of things saying thank a water worker today, or there's thanks officers, thank veterans, thank first responders, but not thank the guy that makes your toilet flush.
Never be afraid to approach the crew, ask them what's going on, and find out what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Shoot, maybe there's some young people that want career fields, because guess what? They're going to need the next generation of those line workers and working on the wastewater and all the different elements of the water department. And quite frankly, I'm guessing if you have those skill sets in your pocket, they're pretty well-paying skill sets.
And you can, once you get your certifications, you can go anywhere in the country.
Absolutely. Yeah, because water's needed everywhere.
Yes.
Although I think you're going more in demand in places like this than, I don't know, say Hawaii or some place that's surrounded in water. But again, if you have any questions about anything, visit the city's website. What's the main number for the water department if someone just wanted? Do you know off the top of your head? Just call the city. No one ever calls these numbers, so just go to the city's the Roswell-nm.gov. There's usually a thing there. He's pulling out a business card to look.
Yeah, sorry, I have to.
I know.
I never call myself.
Exactly. People are like, what's your number? I'm like, I don't know.
So our office number is 575-624-6730.
Okay. If you have a question or want more information about something, or maybe you're having trouble, finding the PowerPoint and stuff, and you can call City Hall. They'll help you navigate to all that too. But if you have questions about any of that kind of stuff, please that's they're, obviously if they're in the middle of something, leave a voicemail, they get back to you. But as soon as they have a moment, they'll be happy to talk to you. So good deal. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. I'm sure you got a few fires, or I don't know, fire's not the right term in your world, to stomp out.
I love that word.
You got a couple of leaks to plug.
Yeah, a couple of leaks to put bubble gum in or something. All right, good. Y'all seen Vegas Vacation, where they're touring Hoover Dam, and there's like a little lake, and then Chevy Chase puts the gum on the thing, and it gets big. Y'all never done that, right? Just checking.
Right now, if you want to buy anything, buy stock in Flex Seal, because
right. I saw it, man. That guy put a door in a boat.
Yeah.
Man. He put a house in a river, right? I saw it. I mean, that's good. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, 7:58. Let us do some news before more news. Don't go away.
Now for your Pecos Valley News Update, I'm Jared Cirillo. Former Eddy County Sheriff's Deputy Victor Martinez officially launching his run for Eddy County Sheriff. Martinez is a former U.S. Marine who deployed to Iraq and was honorably discharged before he started a career in law enforcement. During his military service, Martinez received 2 Medals of Honor. Martinez retired from the Eddy County Sheriff's Office in 2022 and claims endorsements from the Carlsbad Police Association, Carlsbad Firefighters Union, and Latinos for United Conservative Action. Martinez will face fellow Republican candidate Matthew Hutchinson. Hutchinson has already said he would install current Sheriff Mark Cage as his undersheriff. Libertarian candidate Andrew Kennedy is also in the contest. A county government in New Mexico is taking steps to place a ban on single-use plastic bags in the county's unincorporated areas. The ordinance also covers straws and balloons. Violators would face a fine of up to $50. Repeat offenders could be fined up to $300 or even spend 3 days in jail. The city of Santa Fe already banned plastic bags about 10 years ago. You're up to date. I'm Jared Cirillo.
You're a freelancer or business owner on the road. Meetings, trips, or that quick dash to the store for supplies. With those miles driving, you could be deducting dollars from your taxes. I'm Kim Commando, brought to you by Keeper, the password manager you can access from any device. Don't get hacked. Get half off personal and family plans at keepersecurity.com/Kim. Forgot to keep a log of all your driving trips? It's not too late for this year's taxes. You can still figure out your mileage. If you use Google Maps for work, it keeps a history of your travels. Open the app, tap on your timeline button, and you'll find your past journeys based on location history. For specific dates of when you worked, you can see detailed routes and how long each trip took. Pin all of them to get an accurate reading of your miles. But that's a hassle. Your best bet is to use a bona fide mileage tracking app, such as MileageWise. It's $10 a month for folks on the road a lot. Or Stride, that has less features, but it's free. I'm giving away a $500 Amazon gift card right now at winfromkim.com. Still using weak passwords or dealing with a mountain of passwords you just can't remember? You need Keeper. When it comes to managing your passwords and other private details, Keeper provides the ultimate in security, visibility, and control. They use zero trust and zero knowledge architecture. Translation, you get unparalleled security against hackers and data breaches. That's why it's a password manager I use and trust. Securely store private data like files, IDs, and credit cards too. There's even a way to easily and securely share passwords with family, friends, and colleagues. And if you run a business, Keeper makes it easy to deploy password security to every employee on every device. Keeper has over 275,000 five-star reviews. Sign up today at keepersecurity.com/Kim for half off personal and family plans and 30% off business plans. That's keepersecurity.com/Kim. Keepersecurity.com/Kim. Don't get hacked. Get Keeper.
Jonathan Diller, the 31-year-old, gunned down in the line of duty earlier this week. President Biden also in New York today. He'll be attending a campaign fundraiser along with Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 3 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 866-755-5300. That's 866-755-5300. Again, that's 866-755-5300. Call us right now.
He has a newly formed governing body. It's a presidential council that vows to restore order to the troubled country where criminal gangs have taken control of the streets of Port-au-Prince.
In its first comments, the council pledged to restore public and democratic order in the island nation and alleviate the suffering of the Haitian people. In the last month, the country has been plunged into a new wave of violence after gangs burnt police stations, shut down the main international airport, and stormed Haiti's two biggest prisons, releasing thousands of inmates. It led to Prime Minister Ariel Henry stepping down more than 2 weeks ago. He's currently locked out of Haiti and said he will officially resign when the council is formally established.
The BBC's Namia Egvow. China says it will lift tariffs placed on Australian wine over 3 years ago. Tariffs imposed in 2020 during a diplomatic spat over Australia's support for a global inquiry into the origins of COVID-19. News and analysis, townhall.com. Clean your plate? Well, apparently a lot of people don't.
A new UN report estimates that 19% of the food produced around the world went to waste in 2022. That's a little more than 1 billion metric tons of food. The biggest share of food waste, about 60%, came in households. Almost 30% came in food service operations, such as restaurants. The updated food waste index comes 3 years after the UN's first attempt to quantify the problem as part of trying to cut food waste in half by the year 2030. Besides leaving people hungry, food waste means needless greenhouse gas emissions and amounts to a misuse of the land and water required to raise crops and animals. I'm Charles Tilletesma.
Former crypto mogul Sam Bankman-Fried facing the potential of decades in prison when he's sentenced today for his role in the 2022 collapse of the FTX digital currency trading platform. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man in this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah, come on.
I feel the hot wind on my shoulder and the touch of a world that is older. I hit the switch and check the number. I leave it on and then I slumber. I hear the rhythm, I'm ringing through it. Flamenco guitar, the cumbia music. I hear the talking of the DJ. The abolition, what does he say? I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican radio.
Broadcasting live from high atop the J.P. White Building in downtown Roswell, New Mexico. It's Mornings with Mike Winters on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM.
Is that what I sound like when I talk?
Now, here's your host, Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 6 minutes after 8 o'clock. Welcome to hour number 2.
They call it the Deuce.
Mornings with Mike Winters right here on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM. Happy Thursday, everybody.
Yes.
Made it to Thursday. It's Friday's slightly less hotter cousin. You like them, but they're not as good as Friday.
Easter almost upon us.
It is. We're Good Fridays tomorrow. Hopefully, do you have Easter plans with the kids and everything?
Just gonna kind of do a little thing with the family and some other friends. Keep it kind of small.
Gotcha.
Do kids still eat hard-boiled eggs?
I had this
We were
question.
gonna boil eggs. We're not sure.
I asked this question earlier this week, and I didn't get a definitive answer. When I was a kid, that was, we dyed eggs. And we did the eggs, and we got the paws, the little food coloring deals, and that stupid little wire hanger egg dipper jobber. And then we did all that, And then we ate like Grandma would eat all the eggs.
Well,
I'd eat like 2 eggs because I had to eat.
You turn them all back in and they make egg salad out of them. So what we did.
I don't know. They sat in the basket for like a week.
Although,
I don't know if I'd be eating them eggs.
I will say this. I never knew until I became a parent just exactly how important the planogram of where these eggs are going actually is. Like, you need a map. You need to know where these eggs are, because if Cindy doesn't find every single one of them sons of guns,
somebody will later.
Smell real bad in about a week and a half.
Well, I thought the rule was on an Easter egg hunt is you don't actually put eggs. Like, that's why you have the plastic eggs with the candy. And therefore, if it doesn't get found till May, no harm, no foul.
Every egg hunt I've ever done was a combination of the two.
Okay.
Every single one, like church egg hunts, family egg hunts, all of them.
I ain't gonna lie. If I would participate as a kid and I got an actual hard-boiled egg, I'm throwing that sucker. I'm like, nah, we ain't playing with this. It's going against the wall.
This also, by the way, needs to be said.
You get arrested for that?
And I say this with all due respect, but moms, dads, put a little control on your children at the egg hunts. These little savages will go, and I'm speaking from the hard dog on it. These little savages will sweep minesweep the field, pick up all the good stuff. My kids come along, and there's nothing left.
Well, the problem is you're preaching to your enemy, because the parents, I've seen these egg hunts. These parents set their kids up.
They're like,
and they're like, all right. They give them game plans. They're like, tackle that boy, and you can get to that egg right. I've seen them.
Yeah, that's why when I say put a little control on your kids,
planning. They're ones unleashing them to the field.
Some of those kids are mean. They are.
Yeah.
They're like throwing backhands and back fists.
I'm just saying.
Wrong. Last year
you got to toughen your kids up. That's what you're not. You got to get in there and say, all right, throw your elbow here.
Yeah, but that's not the reason for the season. We're like, Jesus has risen. Now let's go throw some elbows into some kids' faces.
Well, when you got a Braveheart-esque thing where you put a pile of eggs in the middle of the field and put a bunch of kids and say, go get them, there's bound to be a few bumps and bruises.
You know who I blame? Ultimately, the people, whoever decided to start making cash eggs. Because like all these egg hunts, they're like, some of these eggs
because now you got moms and dads drop kicking kids to get to the eggs.
For a 1 or a 5. Come on, Mom.
I don't know how many court cases these guys had afterwards, after Easter. After Easter shenanigans.
Let us not forget the reason for the season, please.
Yeah.
I don't want to put anybody else behind Rolling Stones, okay?
That's why I'm thankful for my parents. They never made me hunt for my eggs. We just boiled them, put the candy. It was like Christmas morning. The basket never appeared, and then Easter morning, the Easter Bunny showed up with a basket full of all the. Weirdly enough, the eggs I dyed. Like Santa's got a workshop,
and we're kind of doing it both ways. We're gonna go paint eggs with the kids on Saturday night. Then the kids will wake up. They'll have a basket with some stuff, and then we'll do an egg hunt Sunday afternoon.
Cool.
So it's sort of the best of both worlds.
Oh, good. So they won't be empty-handed.
No. We'll have a whole lot of hard-boiled eggs come Sunday afternoon.
How many Cadbury eggs have you eaten this Easter season?
Honestly, none. I've not had a single Cadbury this entire season.
I've had 3.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I've got 2 left in my 5-pack. I bought a 5-pack about a week ago.
The Cadbury egg, it does not appeal to me anymore. Back in the day, it did, but it's just that thick
I
not
say that
not my
until
jam.
I bite into one again. I'm like, oh, there you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't. And it's the regular Cadbury egg. Don't give me the caramel one, the chocolate one.
Here's the thing.
I want the OG one, the original one with the white and yellow goo in it, whatever sugar concoction that is.
It's like buttercream, and that it hurts my teeth. And these aren't even my teeth. That's how bad it is.
Have you had them out of the fridge?
No, I've never had one out of the fridge.
That's good because it thickens it up a little bit. It's a treat. It's a treat that's a delight to eat.
I have already had, in fairness, 1 sleeve of Peeps. That's the correct name for the serving is a sleeve of Peeps.
I was so real quick, and then we got to move on because I'll be talking about Peeps all afternoon. But over the weekend, my wife was going into one of the women's clothing shop, Maurice. I don't remember one of those ones there, but the dollar store is like right there next to it. So I'm like, I'll see you. I'm gonna go on a dollar store shopping spree while you're walking around looking at women's clothes.
Spree. I do that all the time.
I did. So I was doing my dollar store, and I spent like $18 and got a bunch of useless things. But one thing I noticed in there that I've never had was they had Dr. Pepper Peeps.
I've had them.
Have you had the Dr. Pepper Peeps?
And they are delightful.
Are they? I didn't. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
I'll take it a step up. So last year, I had a friend who has a freeze dryer and was selling freeze dried candies. And one of the things she sold was freeze dried Peeps. So I had the freeze dried Dr. Pepper Peeps. They are amazing. It's like basically if you had like a Lucky Charms marshmallow, but that's like this big. It's great. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So you don't like?
I don't like marshmallow flavored stuff, but that was great.
I'm not gonna lie. One of my favorite treats every once in a while is the OG moon pie.
Really?
The old and if you look, you'll find a double decker version. You ever seen that one?
Oh yeah,
it's basically two moon pies in one. Oh, it's a good day when you find those.
See, and I come.
Hunter's not a big fan.
I come from
Diana
the region.
for Christmas, he wants a whole case of moon pie.
Maybe oatmeal cream pie.
There you go.
I'm an Oklahoman. The moon pie is literally on our state flag, so I should love it. But it's just I'm not. I should, but it's not my jam.
Oh.
Ooh, see, now you're onto something.
So I should get the Dr. Pepper Peeps next time I have a dollar store shopping spree. Okay. All right. I will. You know what I did try that made me happy is I found the 100-gram bars at the dollar store.
Oh yeah.
They were $1 a piece, but I bought like 5 of them.
Nice. That's a good investment.
Well, it's because you never see them anywhere, and they're a top 5 candy for me. As far as chocolate candy goes, the 100-gram. You ever had the 100 grams? I mean, you don't see them very often anymore, but
it's a 100,000% markup
because they've got like a little bit of everything: the caramel, the rice, the whole.
Well, except they're $1.25, so it's I'm bad at math.
Yeah, it was, but yeah, it was way too much for that little amount of candy.
I do enjoy a good 100 grand every now and again. Although in my favorite like off candy bar is the whatchamacallit.
Oh, I love the whatchamacallit.
Because you basically get the same thing.
But that one's much more in the lexicon of the public. Like you can go down a grocery store aisle and find whatchamacallit.
That's true.
100 grand is very hard to find. You have to go to like Wheezy Bob's old fish and tackle box to find things. You know what I mean? And the store that looks like it has 8 pounds of dust on it. And then you find 100 gram.
We've brought this up on the air before. I've seen full-size Mr. Good bars. Has anyone ever seen a full-size Crackle?
No, never.
I've never seen a full-size Crackle bar. I don't think they exist.
I don't think I've ever seen a full-size special. The mini
packs,
kisses, or not the what hugs, or what do they call the little?
They're just called like miniatures.
The miniatures, yeah. But that nor the special dark bar large. You ever see that large?
I've seen a dark chocolate Hershey's bar, yes.
But the special dark, the one that's in the little, that one, that was the official candy of my grandma. Because when we get the miniatures, she wanted those. So I hated them. So when you get a bag of miniatures, grandma got all the special darks.
Nice.
My grandma was
yeah. And the other one that she was big into, which it was only in my younger days, because when I got a little older, they disappeared. Mary Jane's.
Oh God!
Remember those candy?
I hated those.
Well, most people did. They're candy for old people, but like old, not even like current old people, like old people's old people.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's legal now. It's like, yeah, we prosecute people for Mary Jane all the time. Not anymore, but back in the day.
That's a segue right there.
good at this.
Yeah. I can't compete, so we're just gonna end it.
There
Nip
it is.
the bud, it's done.
Speaking of Mary
Cut,
Jane,
print, move on here. But yes, we do have our district attorney, deputy district attorney, going to join us here in just a few minutes to talk a little bit about life as a DA. So they join us once a month, and we talk a little bit about what's going on at the DA's office. So we'll have them here in just a few. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at your weather, and it's a little everything. If you like hot and wind, then this is your jam. Enjoy.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. Pretty mild today and a little bit breezy. Sunshine across the entire area. Will be in the mid to upper 70s, wind gusting about 25 miles an hour. Overnight, some clouds drifting through, mid to upper 40s and breezy, and then we'll get a little bit of cloud cover tomorrow morning, but sunny in the afternoon and a little more windy. Will hit about 80. The weekend looks fair. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
Thank you, Steve. Currently, let's scroll up here. Man, I didn't even refresh. I am a horrible host. I apologize. Currently 39 degrees here in Roswell. Humidity's at 38%. Winds are, in fact, calm at the moment. That will change. Sunny today and a high of 78. South winds 5 to 10 this morning, 15 to 20 for this afternoon, which in our terms ain't so bad. For tonight, mostly cloudy, looking at an overnight low of 45 degrees. South winds 15 to 20. They'll drop down 10 to 15 after midnight tonight. For your Good Friday, partly cloudy, 85 for a high tomorrow. You know, we started the week in the 50s. Remember that? It was in the 50s. Now it's going to be 85 tomorrow. But winds will be blowing a little bit out of the south, 5 to 10 in the morning, 15 to 20 for the afternoon. Friday night, partly cloudy, overnight low of 49 degrees. Southwest winds 15 to 20. Again, they'll drop down 5 to 10 after midnight. And then for the weekend, Saturday, sunny and 83. Southwest winds 5 to 15 for your Easter Sunday. Partly cloudy and breezy with a high near 80. And then 71 and breezy when you head back to work and school on Monday. All right, it is 8:18. We're going to take a 3-minute break, and then we will talk with Diana Luce and Hunter Spindle, our DA and Deputy DA. That's up next. Don't go away.
It's Kubota Orange Days, your golden opportunity to score a deal that'll make your neighbors green with envy. Shop the year's best selection of Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and utility vehicles, including the #1 selling compact tractor in the USA. And get the year's best deals, like 0% APR for 84 months and up to $2,500 off BX23S tractors.
Visit Amigo Machinery, located at 2801 Southeast Main Street, Roswell.
Lyrics of an old hymn titled One Day paint a beautiful picture. Here are the words. One day the grave could conceal him no longer. One day the stone rolled away from the door. Then he arose, over death he had conquered. Now is ascended my Lord evermore. Living he loved me, dying he saved me. Buried he carried my sins far away. Rising he justified freely forever. One day he's coming, oh glorious day. That's probably one of my favorite old songs. Prior to his death, Jesus shares the following words as he consoled a friend who had lost her brother. He said, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. He gave these words to comfort not only Martha, but also to comfort us as we journey through this life. By dying, Christ destroyed the power of death. By rising, he restored our life. Easter is the day the world celebrates this, but it's worth celebrating every day. We welcome you to join us as we celebrate the power of the resurrection.
Join us at the Country Club Road Church of Christ for worship at 10 a.m. on Sunday, located on the corner of Country Club and Washington in Roswell.
Springtime is the perfect time to visit Martin's Jewelry and Gifts in Roswell with an unparalleled selection of jewelry and gifts for the season. Easter will be here soon. Celebrate with beautiful jewelry, medals, crosses, picture frames, and keepsake boxes too. Mother's Day is on the way, and Martin's can personalize any piece for a one-of-a-kind gift. Celebrate your graduate with gold and silver pendants, rings, earrings, chains, EcoDrive Citizen watches, and more. And with store-wide savings up to 50%, you can't lose. Layaway or right-away, spring into Martin's Jewelry and Gifts, 3301 North Main in Roswell.
Artesia General Hospital's family practice providers support the healthcare needs of every member in your family, no matter their age. With locations in Artesia and Carlsbad, our compassionate experts offer a full range of primary services and can help manage chronic conditions, treat illness and injury, and coordinate specialty care. Whether you need a medical provider for your entire family or are getting on track with your annual checkup, we're here for you. Reach out today at artesiageneral.com/family.
The need to grow past our basic capabilities and experience the impossible will forever keep aviation technology evolving. Within the Aviation Maintenance Technology program at ENMU Roswell, students thrive knowing that the faculty and community are supporting their success. ENMU Roswell is dedicated to empowering students through hands-on skills training in a nurturing environment. To learn more, contact us today.
Here's a Mornings with Mike Winters fun fact. The ball on top of a flagpole is called a truck. Mess with your friends today by pointing at a flagpole and say, "Hey, check out the truck on top of that flagpole." Here's Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 22 minutes after 8 o'clock, and joining us in the studio now, I guess technically officially, your district attorney for the 5th Judicial District, Diana Luce, and Deputy District Attorney Hunter Spindle with us this morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for spending time with us this morning. I know it's it's unusual to get both of you in the room at the same time. You know.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's a pretty busy time, and because I'm sure you guys are always. There's no day where you come into the office and be like, not much going on today. I'm going to kick back and pop the feet up for a little bit here. Now, it never happens. There's always a workload of.
No, it's been a rat race. I'm sure I'm speaking for the both of us. The last 2 months, especially, have been just go, with trials and settings, and then everything else that's going on the periphery.
Is there an ebb and flow to that? Like, like if you look at like retail world, Christmas, those are busy times of year for real. Like, is there such a thing in the legal world? Is there like, okay, we just tend to see more cases in the fall than in the spring or in the, is there, or is that it's just haphazard coincidence? It just happens to be a lot of people doing crimes right now.
There are definitely ebb and flows. It comes in waves.
Okay.
At least and Diana can correct me if I'm wrong. My experience, I've seen there's like 3 major waves.
Okay.
You have one in the springtime where people are like, oh, okay, it's nice outside, and they're starting to go outside.
So when people times when people get together,
right,
crime rises.
Right. And then summer is always pretty heavy.
Gotcha.
And then it kind of
Suns
dies
out,
down.
guns out kind of thing.
Yeah, then it dies down a little bit, and then it hits hard right before Christmas.
Gotcha.
Right.
The holiday
season
are probably the worst. Yeah,
a lot of shoplifting, a lot of burglaries,
a lot of
that sort of thing.
domestic violence.
Domestic violence.
The worst of everything happens around it.
Right.
Suicide rates, like you said, domestic violence, drug and alcohol abuse, all of that.
You'd be surprised how many people get arrested over Christmas.
Right.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Even Thanksgiving.
And Thanksgiving.
And
yeah.
Family members, and families are families. They love hard, they fight hard. That's what families do. And then you put drugs or alcohol in the cocktail there, and next thing you know, you have a domestic violence.
And the fact that people live in Roswell want to shoot their cousin,
Yeah. Yeah, it's very weird with some of
over an argument.
Yeah. It's very, it's just, some of the stuff we're seeing here, and like even just the one that happened here earlier in this week about the drive-by shooting and everything, it seemed a little random and all. There's just a lot of that.
I'd hate to ask you which one, because
I know. Well, the one that was, it was in the news, I think Monday or Tuesday here. It was a 50-year-old man was shot by a 19-year-old, I want to say.
At the base.
Yeah.
At the base. Got it.
That's up. That one down there. Yeah. That one was kind of all
because it's active. We can't talk about it. But.
Gotcha. I understand. But, I mean, just seeing those kind of things, we're seeing a lot more of that, it seems like. But kind of getting back to the other side here, as far as, going to the jury trial, that's something we wanted because we have you both here today. And we had talked about, Hunter and I in the past here, that, the whole how a jury's picked and that whole, in TV, that seems to be a very entertaining part of a show usually, is the jury picking and all that. So, I'm sure there's a science to it and an art form in a bit of a way and what you're looking for. So I kind of wanted to pick y'all's brains a little bit about, what, like when that's going on, like what, how does that process from your perspective go? I know, like I've been as a juror before, and I've been picked and I've not been picked on juries, and I've seen how the process goes, where for folks who've never been on jury duty before you serve, you get a questionnaire you fill out. And it really, you give all your information about, family and yourself and little history. Do you have law enforcement in your family? They ask some questions like that. So every attorney has that questionnaire that you filled out prior. And then when we get there, occasionally they'll, all right, raise your hand if you have a family in law enforcement. And, everyone raise their hand. And then who's your family member? And so they do a whole process. But then we all kind of go behind closed doors for a minute, come out and say, juror number 12, 7, 5, 2, and what you're gone. So I'm kind of curious. What's going on there?
You want to know what goes into the
sausage? Yeah, I'm kind of curious.
What makes
goes
the
on
sausage?
between? I just filled the Okay.
We do use the questionnaires, and if they don't fill them out all the way, it's sometimes frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Sure.
And
You're
Diana,
probably going to get more questions if you don't fill it out all the way.
Oh yeah, and Diana trained me how I should do it.
Okay.
And I mean, it's a night and day difference of how first time I ever looked at one.
Gotcha.
And by training me to how to look at it, it's pick out the key important parts especially to what the case is, right?
Sure.
So if it's
obviously if it's a rape case, then there's going to be certain criteria you're looking at in your jurors there.
Right. If it's a child abuse case, how many children does this person have? How old are they? That sort of thing.
Sure.
Are they
where are they employed?
Where are they employed?
Yeah, teachers, because if you've got children in your case,
obviously
usually
teachers probably
have a lot of experience with.
Rationally, you're thinking they're going to be a little bit more emotional when it comes to a child case, or have a little bit stronger opinion about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Are they nurses? Are they doctors? Any of these people that are, deal with abuse that see it
and understand it a little bit differently, maybe than someone that
right.
has done a foot in that world. So.
Right. Are they some
So as prosecutors, you probably want
religious,
them, and the defense is probably trying to get less of those people on the jury. Or am I wrong on that?
It depends. I think it more depends, but most of the time, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that probably from our perspective, we're looking for people who are going to look at our facts.
Sure.
And do like a critical analysis. Defense want people who are going to pick one thing and say, well, I don't think they got there. I don't remember them saying that. Why did they bring this case? They can't prove that element, right?
So really a defense is probably looking for like your internet sleuth types. Like these, like we were just talking about Netflix and all that. There's this whole world now of a murder case or something, and it gets any kind of internet thing, and next thing you know, you got all these TikTok detectives or whatever out there doing their thing, and those people focus on the most minute detail. Like if you want, go on X right now and just do the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and there is about a gazillion. Look at the lights on the boat.
Conspiracy theories.
There's a Pruda filming the heck out of this Key Bridge thing right now, and those type of people. So I'm thinking like defense is kind of like, I want some of those that are going to be in the jury room picking things apart and causing wrinkles.
They want people that question the evidence.
Sure, exactly.
And that are untrustworthy.
Because once that happens, then it creates doubt, which means not a conviction.
Yeah, untrustworthy of police, untrustworthy of prosecutors, untrustworthy of your normal everyday citizen. That it's like, no, I don't want to believe him.
Yeah,
that's who they look for. And that's not always, sometimes
it's not a bad thing. Because,
it's not a bad thing.
If they're looking to get it right, then that's how you get it right sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing they point out. They talk a lot about wrongful convictions, and they talk about how you wouldn't want to convict somebody that was innocent. And our job, that's our first layer of our job, is we have to know that there's credible proof to charge somebody. And so when they go in there and we're already at jury stage and they start talking to our jurors about how wrongful convictions and it's the wrong person, it sets a tone.
Gotcha.
And so I think that's part of our struggle is we go first, but sometimes I like to say defense is about confusion.
Sure.
And so they want to make the jurors question everything from the police officer that did the work to the scientist that did any testing.
Turn over every rock to say, hey, there might be.
Why didn't they collect this? Why didn't they photograph that?
And I describe it a lot as like we're trying to paint a picture, right?
Sure.
And, we're the artist. We have to paint it. And defense is trying to throw black paint on it constantly to disrupt that picture.
Sure.
And we're constantly trying to wipe away any of that black paint so you see the whole picture.
They're trying to create doubt, and you're trying to remove any evidence of doubt. And say,
and what most people don't think about is when we go into jury selection and we're trying to figure out the type of juror we go on there. We start at that questionnaire, but really before that, we even looking at our case, we try to think of a theory of our case and come up with, all right, what are we trying to say here? What are we trying to prove? And then from that theory, we create a theme. Okay, what are we going to say to the jury from jury selection and carry it through the trial? And, during jury selection, we can't come out and just say, yes, this person is
is guilty of this.
Right.
We can't do that, right?
It's like, well, obviously that's what we're trying to prove.
Right. And in jury selection, we can only talk about the case what's on like a criminal complaint.
Gotcha.
We can't go into
Can't get all the details.
Can't go into the facts.
You just kind of tease.
It's very.
Like, what do you think about child abuse?
Right. It's very high level, right?
Yeah.
It's very high level.
And we do talk about like biases.
Right.
But what we try to tell jurors is that everybody brings a bias.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what do you have in your drink cup? What does Hunter have in his drink cup?
Sure.
Right. Everybody has a preference.
Everyone's life experiences create their biases.
And that doesn't mean that you can't be a fair juror. It just means that we want to know what your biases are, and you need to be aware of them because there's no perfect person.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And nobody's completely neutral, right? And I think that's the misconception is that people think, oh, I can't be fair because I have people in law enforcement, or I respect law enforcement, or I have a doctor in my family.
If you know right from wrong and understand it, that's really what we're asking.
Yeah, we're just asking for you. And that's some of the trouble we have is that jurors come in and say, oh, I can't be fair. I think they're guilty. And we're like, well, wait. Do you want us to prove our case? And then they'll say yes. Do you want us to have to meet all the elements? Yes. Then you really can be fair.
Right.
And so trying to not lose people right at the very beginning because they just want to raise their hand and say, oh, I can't be fair.
Right. And in my personal experience, when I've served on juries and things, I think the court does a real good job, at least in times I was a juror, of explaining the importance there a little bit. Because the judge, when you start the case and explains to the jury, look, his people are presumed innocent. You have to treat them as such. You can only base your decision strictly on the evidence presented in this room. If it's not coming out of this room, you can't use that. They do a real good job, and it's like, look, these are the charges. You're trying to convict in this and this. And they explain to you, does it meet this? Does it meet this? And any abject person, whether you love cops, hate cops, or, like you said, have your opinions about things, if any rational person can, and they do break it down to make it as black and white as possible, if that in a very muddy, emotional thing, they really do a good job of like, okay, cut through all the mustard here. Was this met? Was this met? Was this met? And was this met? And I think, and I know when I did my jury time and served, that was our Bible when we were in there. And they're like, okay, we all are in the room looking and hearing what we heard. We all have our opinions. But let's sit down and look at the list and say, was this met? Was this met? Was this met? And then if we can't check all those boxes, then we have to come up with an acquittal.
And that's what we look for. We look for jurors who can set their opinions aside and just review the evidence based on what it is, right? Yeah. Based on what they hear, what they see, whatever their senses are in that courtroom. Sometimes touching if they want to be able to look at a piece of evidence and it's something that we can provide. And to a limitation, right? And with that, that's the type of juror we want. Now, sometimes, people get offended, and I've heard this from people, that they get offended when they get struck, and they're like, well, I want to know why I didn't get picked. And it's like, there could be a multitude of reasons, right?
Sure. Well, you're also two sides have to pick you.
Right. Exactly.
It's not one side picking all the jurors.
Well, even so, it's almost like a triangle, right? So you have a judge who is paying attention. You have us as prosecutors.
That's true, because the judge can anytime say, nice try, but I don't want that one out.
And a lot of times judges will do that, right? Okay. They'll be like, I noted juror number 1, 7, 13, 27.
Mm-hmm. And they're gone. We don't have any input.
Yeah, because if you know any of the parties involved in the case, the judge, the prosecutors, the defendant, any of the above, technically they don't want you on the case because that. Not that you would be biased. They don't want even the hint that you could be biased.
Right.
So the fact that you know them, even if it's, we're on golf team together, or we're even if it's something as very informal as like, we hang out at the coffee shop together every once in a while. That's we don't want that. Not that we don't trust your opinion. We just don't want any impression that there is a potential for favoritism.
And most of the time, if someone is a juror and they're personal friends of the prosecutor, defense attorney, they stand up and immediately say it. But realistically, the judge is more of a referee, right? Sure. In jury selection, and he's constantly looking out, or she,
and he's probably she is probably a better judge. Pardon the pun, of knowing if they know the people or not. Because, like, quite frankly, a lot of people are like, well, I went before this judge, but I wouldn't say I know them. Like
Right.
I had to come in here to pay a ticket or something one time.
Well, a lot of times it's just, is this person paying attention? Are
Gotcha.
they not, are they not
gotcha.
falling asleep?
Like, are they going to be an asset to this or a liability? And if I can see they're not going to be part of the process, and maybe we need to get rid of them.
I mean, I've been in several juries where the judge is like, this guy keeps yawning the whole time, keeps rubbing his eyes. I don't know if he's going to make it through a trial paying attention. And believe me, I've had a juror fall asleep in a trial and had to be kicked out halfway through the trial because he was falling asleep, and we had to put an alternate in.
It's got to be slightly embarrassing.
Well, and,
for the guy.
I mean, people bring real life to jury service,
Sure.
right?
Right.
And then they have to come in early, and then they sit and wait. They do a lot of waiting. I think jurors don't understand why they wait a lot.
No.
But, but sometimes it's with technical issues. Sometimes it's new issues have arisen, and they have to wait. And then the longer they sit there, and then they don't have. Maybe they have water. Maybe they don't. We may have coffee, but they don't. And sometimes they don't like that, right?
Yeah.
If you walk in, we walk in with coffee, and they're glaring at us because they're like, "Why do you get coffee?" Right? And so we have to take that into consideration too. Like,
I've
okay,
been
I've already
lucky.
made that person mad at me this morning.
You're right.
Like I had, I got picked on one that was like a 3-day case one time, and so I know exactly what you're talking about. There were times where they called us into the room. We sat there for approximately 30 seconds. And said, all right, let's get rid of the jury again. We have to, and they're literally, we walk in and they're like, oh, dang it, get him out again. But in all fairness, you walk in, they had a machine they had full of Cokes and sodas and a coffee pot, and donuts were even
So
usually
I was like,
there.
coffee and donuts is
So
once you're picked, right?
So we were
once you're picked.
once you're picked. Yeah,
before.
Yeah, you're kind of.
You have a nice judge if they're.
Yeah.
Because typically, if they're doing it for jury selection,
Yeah.
the judge is doing that themselves.
Yeah,
they're buying the
okay.
coffee, they're buying the donuts for everyone.
Oh, nice. So thank you,
And,
Judge.
Yeah, if they're doing that during jury selection, typically that only happens once
Okay.
there's a jury sitting.
Gotcha. Well,
So-
I think and you'll get to know your bailiff really well. He's your best friend in the whole.
That is right.
place.
And bailiffs are our best friend too because they keep everything on track.
Yeah. Now I get it. I think I want to, like, if I was to start over, I want to be a bailiff because everyone likes the bailiff. Because, I mean, he's the coolest person in the room. And at the end of the day, if something gets out of hand, you get to regulate. It's like the best of both worlds.
I would take issue with that. I'd say we're the coolest people in the room.
Well, I mean,
but
at some point, someone's going to be mad at you. Where the bailiff, he's still
They're not ever mad at the
they're still cool.
That's true. That's
you know
true.
what I mean? It's like, yeah, you threw that guy out, but you brought me sandwich. You're cool. You know,
what I was going on with that is, it's like when we walk in the room, people are like, "Oh, that's the prosecutor."
Yeah.
Like that's, and maybe that's that whole position of authority sort of thing.
Sure.
But it's like there are like two people in the room that people seem to respect when they walk in.
Oh, yeah.
The prosecutor and the judge.
Yeah.
Defense attorneys, they're like, it's just defense attorney.
Well,
whatever."
you know what it is? And because we all watch TV.
Right.
And we all think, especially if it's a defense attorney that's not a public defender, that is a private attorney that has probably a lot more expensive suit on than you do. You know what I mean? Nicer briefcase. Drives a little more expensive vehicle out in the parking lot. And they roll in slicky boyed up and everything.
So an Albuquerque attorney.
But I didn't see it here in
just
Roswell.
saying.
Like I was doing judge, and I'm like, oh, this dude, check him out. He's got wingtips on. This man, he's on point with his fashion
Like he
game
wasn't
right now.
shopping in Roswell.
Yeah. A lot of that was, So I think there's a bit of that going on.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we all, especially if you grew up in the era of the O.J. Simpson trial and watched Johnny Cochran every day for 6 months or whatever that was when back in. Which, by the way, is very good at kind of what you were explaining earlier when you were talking about, because if you watch that, I know people like my mom were just junkies watching that thing all the time, but you really got a good sense of what you were talking about earlier, where the defense is just throwing every wrinkle out there.
Right.
And he's trying to put gloves on, and they're, they're talking about DNA splatters and how it got here and all that. And you just see the prosecutions trying to say this, and then the defense, and obviously they did a good job on the OJ case because he got off, but they put enough doubt in the DNA and what looked pretty open and shut for a lot of people.
Right.
They put and you saw exactly what they, point by point, they're just putting enough doubt in there to get a jury to say, yeah, maybe he didn't do it.
And kind of piggybacking off of that, when I was talking about like theory and theme, like we try to carry it through the case, but sometimes when evidence comes up, sometimes you have to pivot, right?
Right.
You have to slightly change it, still going with what your theme is. Now, defense will do that a lot more based off the evidence. So, like,
but they kind of have to.
They kind of have to. So, like for the O.J. Simpson
Especially
trial,
if they're guilty.
Right. For the O.J. Simpson trial, for instance, when he made him put on the glove, that's where they pivoted to. If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit, right?
Which by
was
the
the
way,
theme.
He didn't look like he was trying very hard to put that glove
No.
on. Well, another story.
But it worked, right?
It did. It absolutely worked.
It was effective.
It was effective. It was very effective.
Johnny Cochran made a lot more money because
that's why he
of it.
started teaching classes on how to do jury trials and that, and became very famous.
People are
more probably because of that one line and that action.
Well,
and then started teaching that afterwards.
He was
and
the
wrote many
official guy
books.
everyone wanted when you got yeah, he's kind of shady, but if I get in trouble, give me Johnny Cochran. You know what I mean? That was the mindset. But anyway, but it kind of, we were just talking earlier, and you were talking about how defense, and I was like, shoot, the OJ trial was really like a literally textbook example of what you were talking about there and showing that.
A textbook example of how you pick a jury, because that's the part I think that they really haven't covered as much with that trial is who were the jurors and what decisions went into why did you pick that juror as the prosecution, not as the defense, right, but as the prosecution.
And
who
it was
were they
really
looking for? And I don't know if now they could go back and they could probably, if they looked at their whole panel, they might would have done things differently.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and you think because in the history of court cases, that probably had the most unique jury selection process of any. I mean, even more so than like the Lindbergh case or these other tentpole cases, because it was in the world of the media, and literally half of what went down was put on the news months before, and so to find someone not aware of that case was next to impossible.
There was also other issues with that case that people don't talk about that I would have had a big issue with as a prosecutor. Not going off on a tangent away from juries, but realistically, I mean, the house was completely different from the date from when the murder happened versus when the jury was actually taken to the home to see it.
Yeah, it was a field trip. It wasn't an evidence.
It
was weird.
It was more like a tour.
That was more sensational.
I would have, as a prosecutor, I'd have objected to that unless it was exactly in the same state that it was in at the time.
Right.
Unless it was very minimal changes.
Absolutely, yeah. But you're right. For that point,
they
it was
changed
just
every painting on the wall,
that was to appease
anything.
the television audience and
Right.
and the news media. I mean, that was really all that. That did not serve the jurors in any way, shape, or form.
But it worked.
And they were probably happy because they've been sequestered for months, and they were like, well, it's an excuse to get out of the house and go do something different.
Well, and I think that's one thing that jurors, when they're going to serve, they come in and they're given like instructions and training ahead of time, or they used to do that. Sometimes I wonder because COVID changed a lot of things, and then it went back to, so that we don't have anything to do with like the orientation for jurors. They have all that information when they come in.
The clerk's office kind of handles all
right.
that.
They handle all that.
And then when we get there, they kind of expect things to like move timely, right? And then like, what's our normal hours? What are our normal breaks? When do we get lunch? And so there's not always consistency with that. And I think sometimes jurors, they look at us because they're thinking, well, y'all brought this case, don't y'all kind of help us? And we're kind of like,
give us a lunch
no, the judge controls all of that.
Yeah.
And they try to be so aware of needs of jurors for that. But it doesn't always happen. And sometimes there's jurors that are unhappy. They felt like, hey, we should have got another break. Or we should have had a longer lunch break. If you tried to go to a place to eat in Roswell in an hour, you got to get in and out of a building.
If you tell them you're going to work through lunch, you'll come to regret it. Most of the jury members, I'm sure.
You're all right on that, because I do remember I was like, I got an hour. I got time to walk over to basically one place real quick. And, if it's not within walking distance of the courthouse, you probably don't have time to do it.
Right. And so it's, and then if somebody needs to take medication, or if they have, a lot of times we hear about children.
Right.
They're like, well, I came today, but I didn't make a plan for somebody to pick up my kids after school. And so the judge is kind of looking at them, and we don't get to weigh in on that.
Sure.
But it's
unless
just
the judge asks.
Some things that we would, I kind of want people to think about is when you come that day, that first day.
Plan to be there all day.
You could be there all day.
It could be. Now.
And you should probably plan, for the rest of the week too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And not as a definite, but as a, hey, there's a possibility, because a lot of times you don't know a juror's not going to know until they're sitting there that this is going to be a week-long trial, a 2-week trial, a one-day trial.
You generally find out when this is a case we anticipated to be a 3-day trial or whatever that is. and that. But yeah, you're right. You don't find out. So you're sat in, you're locked in for the day, and you're in the jury pool, and that's when they say, okay, we've got an assault case. We anticipate to be 3 days. And then they start getting into, does anybody know this person?
Now, and
if
you get subpoenaed for jury duty in magistrate court, you can always plan on that being one day. And in district court, not every case, but most cases are more than 1 day.
Yeah, that's when I had the 3-day case and all. And matter of fact, I had to come in on a Saturday for that one because we started the case on a Thursday. And we went Thursday and Friday, and we got everything done Friday except, I think, closing arguments and then jury deliberation. So the judge said, come in 8 a.m. Saturday morning, and we did the closing arguments.
That must have been a changing of the judge's calendar the next Monday.
Okay, this was years ago. This wasn't recent. Yeah,
they always threaten that, but they haven't. I haven't seen a judge make us come in on a Saturday in a couple of decades.
Yeah, this was I did it. It had been 10 years ago.
Yeah,
but it was a 3-day. It was basically a burglary case, and it was so in it's been a while, but it was something to the effect that it was a group of people that were at a grocery store that used to go to this customer's house, and he was an older gentleman, and he was younger, and so I guess these younger kids went in there and stole some of his stuff or something, and it was a whole lot of shady. But it was a 3-day case, and Friday, and they were saying no, and I don't know if it's because one of the attorneys ticked off the judge. I don't know.
It also could have been
the judge's schedule.
It could have been judge's schedule. It also could have been that they had a murder trial or some other large trial scheduled Monday, and they had to get it done.
They had to have the courtroom because depending on availability, the size of the courtrooms, that's really the issue. You've got to have the larger courtrooms for the longer, bigger trials.
And those longer, bigger trials, the ones that take a week or so, are a lot harder to move around, right? Mm-hmm. So those 1 to 3 day trials, we can kind of move them around as we need to.
Gotcha.
And sometimes the judges will do that, where they'll be like, "Oh, well, it was scheduled here, but we're gonna shift it, a month from now, and kind of tack it in there." And you're like, "Well, Judge, it's only a month, and we already have this other schedule." Nope, it's gonna trail, and it's gonna be at the end of this, and the month is enough time for you to get your subpoenas out. So here you go.
Deal with it.
And that's kind of how things go.
Yeah.
I mean,
and now that I think about that case, I want to say they may have not anticipated being 3 days. They thought it was 2 days.
Well,
I do remember we were going in. Remember when I was telling you about we went out just to go back in? That was that case. We were in and out, so there was a lot of back and forth between the lawyers.
You may have had the judge a little aggravated that the parties said 2 days, and it was
and that's probably what's going on. And again, from my jury perspective, I don't see what's going on because they pull you out. So there was a whole lot that went on while we were just in the other room diddy-bopping doing crossword puzzles.
Yeah, I've had several judges threaten it, but it not actually happened.
Right,
I was part of the one that actually did it.
And they usually like to ask the jury. They don't usually ask the attorneys. They ask the jury, do you want to stay late or come back tomorrow? Do you want to come Saturday? Do you want to come Monday? Right?
Sure. Try to coordinate with everybody.
Well, because sometimes, the collective of the jury, you're the ones going to do the work. Mm-hmm. So when do you want to be here? Right?
Yeah. They didn't give us that choice, but
and I can tell you most of the time I would rather go late than have to come in on a weekend.
Because it's a whole other rigmarole of the thing going back in but in all fairness, if you do get selected as a juror on it, you are the rock star in the room. Everyone caters to you as the juror because of the importance of what you're doing there. So trust me, I know we're talking about stuff and like jurors feel this way, but once you're actually on the juror, you're
the true judges.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, the judge, and I'm not saying this is every single time I've had an experience as a juror, you're treated like you're the customer rock star. You got enough water. All right, let's get you here. Okay. Anybody need a bathroom? They're very conscious of your needs, and they are very much taking care of it. And they do try to anticipate what you're going through in every decision in that court case. In my experience, they've been every judge that I've been part of, they've done that.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm pretty sure that's probably universal with every single court case.
I think the one thing that judges respect is citizens' time. Yeah. They always say, well, it's your civic duty to serve jury service, but you are giving up time from your life, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether you were going to maybe go on a trip.
Yeah.
And so, and then as Hunter said, you are the fact finder. You are the decision maker.
Which can be very hard, especially if it's
very hard.
A very serious case that involves jail time or life in prison or something. Those are big impact decisions you're making here. So it's a lot of pressure.
And of course, that's not supposed to have play. Like it's not. We can't really bring it. We can't bring it up about what this person's looking at, anything like that. So it really shouldn't have any play. But in the back of jurors' minds, I know
it's a murder trial.
You know it's a murder trial.
This is some serious
right. And in complex cases, sometimes if you have a complex murder, something that is very fact and evidence focused in order to prove that this person committed the offense. Because sometimes it's very like whodunit. You have to prove show the evidence to prove that this person, and a lot of it
beyond
is
a reasonable doubt. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of it is circumstantial, where other ones, it's like, nope, we have an eyewitness who says this guy did it, that sort of thing. So it's not that way.
Sure.
And a lot of times those are a lot easier, but those complex cases, having a jury that is willing to listen and respect the evidence, respect our time that we're giving, and we will respect your time. And that's something that the judge, specifically looks for too. And I think that's, the one thing we don't want, and we don't want jurors immediately trying to get out of jury service.
And but that's even the popular, that's the running joke. As soon as you tell your friends, hey, I got popped for jury duty, usually the next question is, what are you going to do to try to get out of it? You know what I mean?
And that shouldn't be. Yeah. That shouldn't be, because it is a service, but you are doing your community good if you are willing to be on it.
I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed it. To me,
and that's what I hear from most people.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you're dealing with some grave stuff and things, but to see justice in action when you don't get to see it on a daily basis, to be the perspective of a juror is such a unique perspective in a court case that I think every American should experience it at least one time.
Yeah. Well, and I think the one thing that jurors probably that serve appreciate is that what they hear in court is not what they're going to hear in the media or the newspaper or from their neighbor.
Absolutely.
Because I tell people that jury service is you're not getting the whole story. You're not getting, people like, well, we want the truth. Well, you don't get the whole story because there are rules that don't allow certain evidence in,
or
if they talk about
presented
certain
in
things.
The court.
So it's a very narrow view of what we know about the case and what other people know about the case.
Somewhere anywhere from 10 to 30% of what the whole case may be.
Yeah.
It's really never, at least in my experience, you really never get 50% of the evidence presented.
Sure, yeah, I could see that. And if you did, then probably everything would be convictions. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just and like if they're guilty, they're going to be convicted every time.
There's a lot of rules to it, and from my experience, after doing jury trials, I've had multiple jury members stop me after, like whether they've seen me, still in the courthouse, pulling me aside, or running into me at a restaurant or whatever else. They're like, hey, you were the prosecutor on my case. I didn't really respect the whole system until I sat on a jury.
Gotcha.
And you see that change a lot with people, is that they, they don't respect the DA's office, or they don't respect the court system, or they don't respect public defenders or whatever, until they sit in a jury trial
and see it in action.
And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was wrong about how I felt about these people.
Everybody's
and
an
what they were
expert
doing.
when you watch a 5-minute video on something, but when the devil's in the details on all this stuff, and it's no different than in this world, it's very much it's. Matter of fact, I was talking with you guys before the thing. All these Netflix documentaries and things about these murder trials, some of these tentpole ones, and the ones that were in the news every night. You see those ones all the time, and of course, you get a certain opinion by just watching the news stories. And then you watch the Netflix documentary, you're seeing the hours of court and what was going on in the court case. And it's not always the same story. And you're thinking, okay. And to be honest, a lot of times where someone that looked in the media oh, they're guilty. They're going to jail. And then they don't. And everyone's like, oh, the system's rigged. And they're like, yeah, but then you start watching the actual case and what's presented and what's not presented. And, well, now it makes sense why they weren't convicted.
Well, and you have to, and what I hope people realize from listening, from watching stuff, from doing jury service, is that the hours that you sit in court, right? Think of how we do probably 10 times that work behind the scene, especially on these big cases.
I would imagine,
So it's like we're sitting here analyzing evidence for, sometimes if it's a document heavy, thousands of pages worth of documents, and we're maybe presenting one or two. So it's like we have to spend that time to go through all these documents to find one page to present to you.
Oh, by the way,
watch
then you've got
hours
that with
of
10 other cases with the exact same thing.
Yeah, or watch hours of video in order to show you a clip for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think sometimes they wonder, like, well, why don't we watch the whole video? And we're like, do you want to sit here for 5 hours?
I'm about to say, yes.
And go, oh, okay, well, there wasn't really anything on there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so
Let's give you the Cliff Notes version.
That's part of what we talk about, that, like, if you read the TV coverage or the newspaper coverage, if you're looking at that, you're going to think, well, why didn't we get to see that? Well, there's probably a reason you didn't see it. If we thought it was important, we would have fought for it to come in.
Sure.
And if the judge thought it was appropriate and permissible, he would have allowed it.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to remember that there are reasons why they don't
Absolutely.
get to see.
There's a reason
things.
for everything.
But that doesn't mean they don't wonder. But they can't wonder as our jury, because they, like you said, they accept what we present only.
And a lot of times that's the kind of stuff you learn later it's at the time you may not see it or hear it, but then once the case decide later and they go back and see this is what they were talking about. And then, so if you want an understanding, just because you want to know it, but you didn't need that understanding at the time because you weren't involved with it. But that's part of it too. And yes, it doesn't make sense from your perspective at that particular moment. But once you see the rest of the story, to quote Paul Harvey here, you kind of understand why decisions were made the way they were made and done. And that's and I think and it gets back to that point about everyone serving in jury and everything else. And like you said, people have one opinion, then they serve on a jury. It's like, light bulb goes off.
Yeah.
And I just saw the time. And then so I'm hoping, and now we wrap this up here. I'm hoping if nothing else, people come and if they do get the letter in the mail saying their jury duty, take it seriously, fill out that questionnaire, fill it completely out. You heard. You want to help our prosecutors out? When they ask you a question, put an answer in it. Even if it's maybe not the answer that they want to hear, give them the answer that's the truth and let them.
And that's all we're looking for is the truth.
Don't come from an angle of, what are they trying to ask me here? No. I see a lot of Judge Judy. With Judge Judy, when people start answering questions different than the way she wants, she's like, don't try to figure out what I'm doing here. Just answer my question. Don't try to figure out what they're doing here. Just answer the question. Don't try to say, what answer are they looking for? No, answer the question that's right for your thing.
And I think the one thing we want to say is thank you for everybody that does serve jury service.
Absolutely.
Even if they don't get picked, they just come in for the selection process because our system doesn't work without it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Correct.
So please, you come in and we do appreciate it. And to be honest, I think if you do get picked, you're going to turn out, it was a positive experience for you, and you're going to be like, I'm glad I did it. I think I guarantee, I can guarantee, but I can almost guarantee you'll probably think that when you're done with it.
And I can certainly understand, some people being like, oh, I've been on a jury like 3 or 4 times. I'm tired of doing it.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate those people for being willing to do that. And, but we hope that people are willing to do it.
Absolutely.
And we thank those that really are and really give the time.
I think you'll get a better perspective of the world by serving on a jury duty. So, well, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
I know you got 100 things to do, and anytime we'd love to see you guys back, and we'll see you next month, if not sooner. Good deal. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, 9 o'clock, actually 9:01. You're listening to 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM, KEND, Roswell, New Mexico. News in progress.
The bodies of 2 of the 6 missing construction workers, they were on Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge when it collapsed this week, have been recovered from the Patapsco River. They were found in a submerged pickup truck. 4 people dead, 5 others injured by a man who went on a stabbing spree in Rockford, Illinois yesterday afternoon.
We have a suspect in custody who is being interviewed at this time. We don't believe there's any other suspects that are on the run or at large at this particular time.
Rockford Police Chief Carla Red says so far the motive is unclear. The U.S. economy grew at a solid 3.4% annual pace October through December. This is an upward revision of the government's previous fourth quarter estimate. It was driven by robust consumer spending. Watching Wall Street, stocks have turned higher. The Dow is up 2 points. The Nasdaq ahead 6 points. More on these stories at Town Hall.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Do you like pricking your fingers to test your blood sugar levels? No one does, but it's important to maintain your health. And now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you don't need to prick your fingers anymore. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now. And if you have Medicare or most major insurance coverage, you may be able to get a new CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now to learn how to end the painful finger sticks and get your own continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Now. Growing friction between Communist China and the Philippines, the Philippine president insisting that his country will defend its interests in the South China Sea.
Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said there have been constant attacks from Chinese vessels in disputed waters. He said the Philippines didn't want conflict, but wouldn't be cowed into silence. So he's authorized a package of countermeasures against China, although he didn't say what they were. Mr. Marcos suggested the Philippines' ally, the United States, would help. There have been China and the Philippines in the South China Sea. This dispute now has the potential to become even more dangerous.
And that's the BBC's Michael Bristow. A bipartisan U.S. congressional delegation has pledged continuing support for Taiwan days after Congress approved $300 million in military aid for the self-governed island that is claimed by Communist China. News and analysis at townhall.com. Former crypto mogul Sam Bankman-Fried faces possible decades in prison when he is sentenced today.
The 32-year-old was convicted in November of illegally using money from FTX, once one of the world's most popular platforms for trading digital currency. FTX collapsed in 2022, and prosecutors are recommending 40 to 50 years behind bars. Bankman-Fried's attorneys, friends, and family are asking for leniency, saying he's unlikely to reoffend, and that FTX's investors have largely recovered their funds. That claim is being disputed by bankruptcy lawyers, FTX, and its creditors. I'm Donna Warder.
The federal government will provide $1.5 billion in loan money to restart a nuclear power plant in southwestern Michigan. Officials say it would be the first nuclear plant to be reopened in the U.S. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man on this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah, come on.
I feel the hot wind on my shoulder and the touch of a world that is older. I hit the switch and check the number. I leave it on and then I slumber. I hear the rhythm ringing through it. Flamenco guitar and cumbia music. I hear the talking of the DJ. The devil listen, what does he say? I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican radio.
Broadcasting live from high atop the J.P. White Building in downtown Roswell, New Mexico. It's Mornings with Mike Winters on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM.
Is that what I sound like when I talk?
Now, here's your host, Mike Winters.
good morning. It is 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Welcome to our, going slow, number 3. I was doing it real slow. I was like, I don't hear anybody running.
Well, I thought you guys were going to stall for a second. I'm like, oh, cool, I can do this. And then
well, then the hour starts, and I got to talk.
Oh, they can listen to music for a second. It's a good song. I never get to hear it.
Give a heads up. I would have done that for you. Communicate. We're in the communication business. Remember, you hear that a lot.
Oh, I say that a lot. That's probably going to be on my tombstone.
Ironically, we're the worst communicators, and we're in the communication. Yeah, it is what it is. But we're really good at useless things, though.
Great.
Yes, welcome to Thursday, hour number 3. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope your Thursday's going well.
Tis indeed.
Temp's going to be nice.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic out there.
As long as that wind. Although, it's supposed to be breezy, but in the our terms of wind, 15 to 20 is not that bad.
No.
Like, I don't like it, but
that's just a nice little lilting breeze.
That's not bad for us.
A bad day for us is when gusts up to is included in the forecast.
Yeah, and there's a few of those in there, but not today. Tomorrow. But yeah, and of course Easter and all that, and Good Friday's tomorrow. In case you haven't, I'm thrown off because spring break and Easter were always attached growing up for me.
See, and
whenever spring break was, Easter was in it at some point in the beginning of it.
That almost never happens here.
And it was always like that for me growing up. And I don't know why this year it's messing me up more than normal. You sure it's never like this?
No, we always do our spring breaks in March, and for the most part, Easter it stays in its lane in April.
Okay. Well, in my head, I feel like they're always attached.
Yeah, it stays toe out of line, or it decided to step out of line and dip into our March.
Yeah. Although I was almost an Easter baby.
Really?
Yeah, the year I was born, 1973. April was late. Easter was late. I was born on the 25th. I missed it, but Easter was late that year. I think it was like the 20th or something. I just missed it.
It's weird how much Easter floats. Like, I think Easter is like one of the biggest floating holidays. The span of when it can be.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that's the biggest one is on Easter.
Yeah, and it's. I guess it's. I'm no scientist, so I don't know.
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know what.
Whatever the calendar and the sun and the moons and how they decide all that.
I just know that there's a bunch of Catholics out there that are real excited about steaks again.
Give me beef. Although I love fish.
I used to. I do.
That's why I love
myself.
Lenten season, because there's more opportunities to eat fish. Even though I'm not Catholic, I take advantage of all the fish eating I can do, because I do like. Matter of fact, I've almost wrapped up my fish sandwich tour.
Oh yeah.
I'm not quite done. I try to eat everybody's fish sandwich. Like, I've hit Whataburger. McDonald's is my staple. I get. Put it this way. Every time I go to McDonald's, every other time I've got a fish sandwich somewhere in that order usually.
McDonald's is like, I can't say, it's like it's your bottom. It's your bottom B word. It's like it's stable. It's always there. You can step out and try a different fish sandwich every now and then. McDonald's is always going to be there.
I love that fish sandwich.
Yeah.
It's still my favorite. I mean, I love Whataburgers and Wendy's and whoever they put out their delicious fish sandwich, but
you could tell it's
the
not something
mouthfeel, the memory, or whatever it is. The Filet-O-Fish from McDonald's is my one seed.
It's a doggone good fish sandwich.
It is.
Sure.
I like it. It just hits. It's kind of like people that that claim they like mac and cheese, but only like Kraft mac and cheese and don't like homemade mac and cheese.
Now, I will say this. I do not, this may be a hot take, I am not a fan of oven-baked mac and cheese. Like with the breadcrumbs and all that. I don't like it.
I do.
It's too much. I do like the blue box stuff. I like a
fancier. I do too.
I like a Velveeta shells and cheese.
Yes.
But
yes,
I just
and yes.
don't like it necessarily when it's like baked and it's got that like crust on top.
I'm down with all of it. Bring it on. You give me grandma's homemade mac and cheese. Give me Kraft mac and cheese. Give me Velveeta shells and cheese. All are welcome to my little party.
Speaking of, did you hear about that billboard that went up last week? I posted the picture on my Facebook
about
page.
he ate how much?
It said this. The billboard said this man consumes over 20 gallons of liquid cheese every year, and then at the bottom, he can't be stopped. Just a picture of a guy eating some Easy Mac. So it turns out that's actually the result of a prank war between these two people that work in an office in Covington, Kentucky, or whatever. They just been back and forth pranking each other for years, and this was this guy's way of one-upping the other guy.
He really didn't eat that much cheese.
He just took a picture of him eating mac and cheese one day and spent, I think they said it was $11 or
Those billboards aren't cheap, man.
$1,200 for a month of that billboard being up in Covington, Kentucky. So
good for him.
I mean, you win.
Yeah. You know, the revenge is going to be pretty rough, one or the other. You know what? Speaking of this, and I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but now that we're talking about cheese in this way and form, I guess I'm going to talk about this. I watched a video yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Don't ask me. How do we end up watching a lot of these videos? We end up watching
man.
it just happened.
It serves up some weird stuff.
It just happened.
Half the time I'll find myself just watching a hydraulic press crushing stuff.
That's what's it. One thing that caught my eye and it reeled me in, and I feel stupider for watching it, but I am oddly curious.
Okay.
You know the food crime cooking type things that go on there where people make these quote unquote casseroles and they just pour like pasta in you know what I mean? All the stuff. Well, this one was making homemade mac and cheese.
Okay.
And this person got the barrel, that big Utz barrel of cheese balls. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Puff ball, and basically boiled down the entire barrel of cheese balls into this liquid goo, and then basically
in water?
Poured it. Yeah, I didn't have the audio on, so I did, and basically turned it into this liquid cheese, and then she cooked. Thank God she cooked the pasta at least, and didn't try to just put it on raw, and so cooked raw elbow macaroni, and then mix the cheese in there. It didn't look that gross.
Okay.
It didn't look that gross. Like, I would try it. I would never do it, but if someone made it and presented it to me, I'd take a forkful and see what's about.
If they didn't make it in water, I would agree with you. If they would have mixed that into like a emulsion of like a cream and then mix the cheese balls in. It looked like water.
I don't know.
That I could sign off on it being mixed in with like a cream.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's just it's like Yoo-hoo.
I was grossed out, but I oddly want to try it.
Yoo-hoo.
Like, I may not cook it or do it, but if someone prepared it and said, "Here's a bowl, try this, a forkful," I would do it because it looked not completely.
It's just
gross.
like if somebody put chocolate milk and then Yoo-hoo in front of you and said, "This one of these is chocolate."
Oh yeah,
water.
I'll spot the Yoo-hoo in a minute.
Exactly. It's that's what it is. If you mix that in like cream and let the cheese balls kind of melt down and because they have a lot of that cheesy extract on it, so it could be good.
It could be.
It could
I'm
be.
about to say it didn't look as awful as some of the other things I've seen. Like, I was like, all right, 20-year-old me would totally be into this.
Mm-hmm.
College kid, making grilled cheese with the iron type line set. This would be in that wheelhouse. You're right. But I still would try it. If someone made it, I was revolted, but I'm like, all right, I'd give it. It still looks kind of like mac and cheese here and kind of look tasty. But you're right. It could look like just orange water and noodles.
It definitely left my stomach bubbling.
But anyway, I'm a freedom of speech guy, and everyone should speak. But of all the things that I'm like Gestapo on, it's these food crime people. Like, these people that tell you how to make I really think we should ban them. Like, they should be prosecuted for these things.
I mean, some of them are actually kind of,
Most are a disservice to food.
Sure.
And quite frankly, the reason why we're going to be just gelatinous balls with little nubs at the end.
Now,
that's what we're going to end up because of these food crimes. We're gelatinous balls.
Sorry.
We're going to look like the hop-alongs from the 70s. That's what we're going to look like.
All I could think of, and I know this is unrelated, but all I could think of was the meme of that dude with the two flap arms that finished the Hellman's Mayonnaise challenge. That's going to be us 20 years. But no, let me counter argue with this.
Uh-huh.
The reason you're being served all these horrific food crimes is because you keep watching them. The algorithm serves you what you consume. Which really sounds like a horrific.
I don't
future
look
statement.
at them that much. That's just it. One showed up, and now it's not my fault I stopped once. That's not fair. I stopped at a lot of things once. They're just for you. Like you hit the for you section on there, and you're sliding. Next thing you know, I got someone's butt in my face.
Yeah, it just picks what it feels like you would be into.
It's like, why is only OnlyFans and food crimes for me? I don't care about any of these things. I've never gone to one, but when you go to the for you section, that's all they give me.
It's like if you ever hear somebody argue or like complain about the stuff that's being advertised on the sidebars. Of like, this is a family website. Why are they advertising? That's because that's in your algorithm, sir.
Yeah. But like for Twitter, and I know you don't Twitter a lot or X or whatever you call it. How they've set it up in the Elon Musk world is you have your feed, and that's just the people you follow.
Right.
But it defaults to for you, and the for you is your the suggestions based on the algorithm and all that nonsense. But it's not right, because I know I don't look at like just because I looked at one fight video doesn't mean I need to see every fight video on the internet. You know what I mean? That's not a working law. Okay, like. Now I looked at one Clown World thing, and now all I get is everyone's Clown World. And I'm like, oh, my God. I don't. Why?
Because you were interested at one time, so you might be interested again.
Yeah,
Best way to do it is I think there's usually like 3 dots on the side. If you click it and be like not interested, then you'll stop seeing it as much.
Then I just have to do it to the whole for you. Can I just not interest the whole for you side? And then people are like, well, you can't go there. Why? Hell, it defaults to it. Like when you open up the Twitter or X, it goes right to the for you. It doesn't give me to my side.
I'll one-up you one worse. There's an app out there that when you try to get out of it, you hit back to like go to your main screen like any other app would. It just resets and gives you another video. And if you watch even a second of that video and you hit back, another video. And then I get in this thing where I'll double back real quick to try to get out of the app. And the one I see that it's about to, it's like, oh, I would have watched that one.
Yeah.
And then you'll never see it again.
Right. Yeah, I've done that too, where I've looked for something. Oh, I want to see. Oh, no, I can't find it.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm turning into old man screams a computer, but it is what it is. Crystal Noble is patiently waiting to talk about dogs and cats, so we will do that here instead of talking about old man mad at computer.
But he is. He's big mad,
and he will eat cheese ball mac and cheese.
Well, I know what I'm bringing to the next potluck.
I'll take some. That's right. I'll take something. Right? Yeah, that's an expensive thing of mac and cheese for garbage mac. Those cheese puffs aren't. You buy the Kraft mac and cheese. They're like 99 cents for a box of those. That cheese ball thing was like $5. Probably another $3 in pasta. But yeah, you're right. That's for a garbage thing. It's not even bougie. Like ghetto bougie. Ghetto bougie. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I like it.
There's other words for like dollar balling.
Ghetto bougie.
Ghetto bougie is though it's.
Yeah, I like ghetto. Ghetto bougie's I think that's my jam.
I feel like there's another word for it that I'm just not thinking of. But
I don't know.
Well, hood rat, but yeah.
I think I want to just. I'm married. I can't do all that. I was single. I could just decorate my whole house ghetto bougie. I want my whole life to be ghetto bougie.
You have an extra room. Ask permission to make it your own.
Like I want to get filet steaks and make hamburger out of it. That's ghetto bougie.
That is right up there. Although I am weirdly dying to try Wagyu ground beef, even though I know it's completely pointless because the whole thing is the fat.
Right.
And it's like I still kind of want to try it though.
Ghetto bougie. Ghetto bougie. We need to thank ghetto bougie.
Bring that bell over here. Ghetto bougie. It's
pretty much the entire craft beer industry. Ghetto bougie.
The nipple of that bell didn't want to play along.
Like if you're talking about marijuana strains like wine, ghetto bougie.
Ghetto
All right, it's 21 minutes after 9. Here's your weather. I'm just going to keep going if I don't stop now.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. Pretty mild today and a little bit breezy. Sunshine across the entire area. Will be in the mid to upper 70s, wind gusting about 25 miles an hour. Overnight, some clouds drifting through, mid to upper 40s and breezy, and then we'll get a little bit of cloud cover tomorrow morning, but sunny in the afternoon and a little more windy. Will hit about 80. The weekend looks fair. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
Thank you, Steve. Currently 47 degrees here in Roswell. Humidity's at 31%. Winds are calm at the moment. Still calm. It's supposed to change. We do have sunny skies and a high of 78 expected for today. Winds out of the south, 5 to 10 this morning, 15 to 20 for this afternoon. Cloudy tonight. Expect an overnight low of 45 degrees. South winds 15 to 20. They'll drop down 10 to 15 after midnight. For your Good Friday, partly cloudy. 85 for a high tomorrow. South winds 5 to 10 in the morning, 15 to 20 for the afternoon. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy, overnight low of 49 degrees. Southwest winds 15 to 20, dropping down 5 to 10 after midnight. For your weekend on Saturday, partly cloudy and 83. Southwest winds 5 to 15. Sunny on Sunday with a high of 80. So your Easter Sunday going to be warm but breezy. And then breezy and 71 Monday when you head back to work and school. It is 22 minutes after 9. We're going to take about a 3-minute break, and then Crystal Noble will officially join us to talk dogs from the Humane Society and cats and other pets as well, too. We'll be back.
At Anderson Bethany Funeral Home and Crematorium, we honor and pay tribute to the achievements of your loved one by celebrating the life you shared together. Anderson Bethany Funeral Home and Crematorium is compassionate and cares about our local community and the families we serve here in southeastern New Mexico. Locally owned and operated, we will be here to help you decide how to celebrate the bond you've shared and pay tribute to the unique individual you've lost. Visit us at 2609 South Main in Roswell or call 622-5888.
Can't hear as well as you used to? That can happen to the best of us. But when you can't hear people speaking or birds chirping, it's time to take action. That's when it's time to call Howard Allman with Here on Earth Hearing Care Center. Howard has been helping people hear better for over 55 years. Howard is who helps the Artesia seniors with servicing their hearing aids of all makes with free cleaning and hearing evaluations, and he's ready to help you. Howard can share with you information on Audibel Intrigue AI hearing aids with many features you might not expect a hearing aid can do, such as using your hearing aids to stream calls, music, and more. Plus, health monitoring, count steps, even fall detection, all built in. Meet face-to-face with someone who can help you choose the right hearing aid for you. Call Howard at 575-622-0375, and he'll be glad to set up a time to meet with you. That's 575-622-0375 for Howard Allman of Here on Earth Hearing Care Center.
To plant or not to plant? That is the question. Hi, this is Jim Gill from Roswell Seed Company. Our tomato plants and pepper plants are ready to go. If you plant them now, you might have homegrown tomatoes and peppers before anyone else, or the frost might kill them. As Clint Eastwood would say, do you feel lucky? You'll either be the smartest gardener in the county, or you'll get to replant them all over again. I say go for it. You'll get more practice and we'll get more business. This is Jim Gill from Roswell Seed Company, and I apologize to William Shakespeare.
What made Roswell Hyundai the #1 used car dealership in southeastern New Mexico for 2023? Great selection, great savings, and great people. Roswell Hyundai has an amazing selection of makes, models, and model years to choose from. If you can't find it, Roswell Hyundai can get it. And Roswell Hyundai will take any trade. The experts at Roswell Hyundai will work with you to get you behind the wheel of your next dream ride. So, what makes Roswell Hyundai the #1 used car dealership in southeastern New Mexico? You do! Come check out the Used Car Supercenter only at Roswell Hyundai, 1909 West 2nd.
The University of New Mexico. It's the state's flagship, a world-class university right here in Albuquerque. Apply for admission at UNM today at unm.edu. That's unm.edu. The University of New Mexico is the university for opportunity.
Here's a Mornings with Mike Winters fun fact. Slugs have 4 noses, but no fingers to pick them. Here's Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 25 minutes after 9 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning, Crystal Noble with us with the Roswell Humane Society. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
Good deal.
Enjoying the not wind.
Yeah, of course.
For the time being.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. So, of course, for folks that don't know, you guys are very close to the Gill family and everything. Your husband, and everything. So, how's everybody doing there in the family, and how's everybody?
Day to day.
I mean, I'm sure they lost, the patriarch at loved one, but how they coping?
It's day to day. Everybody has their moments.
Good. You don't. I know we'll move on to, but you don't realize how much Jim Gill impacted your life till he's gone. Sometimes, I don't know. There's at least been 3 times in the last week I've talked about something and Jim Gill reference reminded me. Matter of fact, we were joking as something as simple as talking about the nuts, the tree is outside here, and the nuts falling, and we were making jokes. And I was like, "Well, Jim Gill has officially all the nut jokes on every one of these now."
He does.
So it was just little moments like that lately, and it's like, and so and I imagine with them it's probably tenfold. So
it's kind of sad going to take John lunch and not hearing Jim yell out, "Peanut butter boxes here."
Yeah.
Every day I'd walk in with lunch, and that's what I'd hear from the back corner of the office, unless he was at tips. Then,
right. Maybe actually, dealing with a client or something at that particular moment.
No,
but
he would yell it out.
Oh, even then, it didn't matter.
Yeah. No. He see me with food, peanut butter boxes here.
Nice. But so that's a big hole to fill. So
it really is, and it's
let them know
sad.
we're all praying for him, and we're all anything what we can do to help. Let us know.
I will.
It's just it's such a staple to lose, and we're gonna spend a long time making up for that lost ground. So.
If ever.
Yeah, if ever, too. Speaking of which, too, because this is something that and this I think people start realizing it at the funeral and after we've lost him. Just how impactful he was in many circles and things, but Historical Society, Humane Society, both of those organizations probably owe very much of what they do thanks to Jim and his family supporting them over the years in many ways, shapes, and forms. So I know the Historical and the Humane Society are both mourning his loss very, very greatly too. So.
He was out there in more areas than anybody ever knew.
Mm-hmm.
And you could walk through Roswell Seed and see all the photos of him with the girls in sports, and then the beekeeping, the news clippings, and just he was a good part of the community that was not thrown in your face.
Absolutely, he just did it quietly on the sides.
Yeah,
and didn't advertise it, didn't talk about it, just did it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna miss that. We're gonna miss hopefully. There's others in the community that do very similar things, and we're going to need them to step up even more now. So, but anyway, we're praying for everybody and express our best wishes to everyone over there when you talk to them. That being said, the Humane Society is going and blowing, and we've got pets.
We are
literally going and blowing with the wind and everything else. How's the new roofs holding up so far?
So
here with
there's
all
one
this?
section left to do. They're just waiting for the rest of the materials to come in for that.
Okay.
But the big part of the building, and then the thrift store side, and then one section of the dog kennels is completely done.
Good deal.
Just waiting on the last of the materials.
That last little section there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're officially done talking about roofs.
Uh-huh.
Good. At least for a few more years. Until they need to be replaced again.
But, I will say we've had a little bit of moisture and precipitation and some snow. And it was really cool because while they were working on the roof, we had that happen. So we were able to say, hey, this area is still leaking, or hey, this area is fixed.
You can
so
test. But
we got a test run while they were still working on it so they could fix those areas. And it's great to not walk back to the kennel and, oh crap, I got to watch this spot because it's got a puddle.
Well, and to be honest, it's a big health and safety thing because, when
really
puddles
is.
go and when that turns to mold and everything else and that's detrimental to not only the humans inside, but the dogs and cats that also call it home too.
Yes. And when you have a roof that leaks, when you have insulation, it's going to get wet. And then
it's a hot mess.
Yeah, it's a big hot mess.
Yeah, and it's worse as it goes along too. So what's good that finally that's one less thing that we got to worry
one
about.
less thing. We are still asking for donations to help with the costs because it was quite expensive, and unfortunately, it wasn't something that could have ran through insurance.
Sure,
It wasn't like
didn't qualify for hail damage or some of the other stuff that
no wear
insurance
and
will
tear
cover.
and over the years does not cover under insurance.
Yep, just old is not qualifier for insurance to kick in. So.
It should.
Although you feel like over the years there should be enough hail damage on there to justify it, but I'm not an expert in that field, so.
And one thing that Roswell does get quite often is hail.
I was about to say, at least once a year we get a good hailstorm at some point or another. So.
Yep.
But anyway, that if you'd like to contribute, if you go to the Humane Society's website, roswellhumane.org, there's a link there.
There's a donate button.
Mhm.
And then when you click on the donate button, it's going to pop up whether you want to do via PayPal or credit or debit card.
Okay.
Whichever one you select is fine.
Sure.
But there's going to be a box, or it's going to be like a little plus symbol, and it's going to say add note. Click on that.
Okay.
And then add for roof.
Okay.
Or if you want it designated for something else, put your specifications
So that way,
in
if
there.
you're like, hey, I want this to go directly towards the roof, you can do it. Because if not, it'll just go in the general fund and
Right.
may go towards the roof or may pay for a vet bill or
Electric bill or whatever.
Or litter, yeah.
So if you will please add notes, or if you don't see the spot, send me an email and say, hey, I just made a donation online. This is what I want it designated for. So that way we're making sure that the donations are going in the proper places.
Yeah, exactly where you wanted it to go.
Right.
But if you just want to donate and say, hey, do wherever you see fit with it, then we thank you, and they will do
Yes, sir.
exactly that.
Exactly. And then you can also be a member online.
And your kids, your pets, everybody can be a member.
So when you click on the membership tab, it's going to tell you to add the fee box, because they charge us a fee to collect payments.
Okay.
So because a membership is technically purchasing something and not a donation, it's a fee.
Gotcha.
So if you check the box and then whichever membership you would like to do, you don't have to worry about adding notes to that because they're already set. So it tells me exactly what you did.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. So again, roswellhumane.org, and you can navigate however if you want to donate there. Also, if you're looking to make a pet part of your home, every single pet that is currently residing at the Humane Society is on the website. If you see not available next to their name there, that means they're in quarantine. They have not been adopted. They will be available for adoption once they exit quarantine. They could be in quarantine for numerous reasons. A, they're too small, they aren't heavy enough to be adoptable yet, or they're influx new into and they're waiting on shots and vaccination and making sure that they can be in the general population, that they're not carrying any communicable diseases or anything that could harm the rest of the population. So it could be any of those reasons, or it could be the dog or cat's waiting on a sickness thing and we're getting them over that, and then once they're healthy, they're ready. So it could be numerous reasons. So if you
And we do get a lot, especially this time of the year, as the weather is up, down, up, down, up, down. We do get a lot of animals that come in with seasonal allergies. And we have to make sure that it's just allergies and not a respiratory infection that's contagious. So when an animal does come in, we do put them on the website. And you're more than welcome to send an email.
Yeah.
There's, inquire about. Send an email, and then I can tell you, hey, this animal just came in.
Yeah.
We're observing it for any illnesses, viruses. Around this time frame is when they would generally come out of quarantine. But depending on if it is this versus this depends on our next step.
Yeah, and they love. So say you see one of those pets and you're like, oh, that one's adorable. That's the one I want to call. Call and ask, like Crystal's saying here. Call, ask about it, inquire, and at the moment that pet is out of quarantine, you're more than welcome to come down and do a meet and greet, and let's start the process to see if you want to make this pet part of your family.
So while any animal is in quarantine, they basically are not available for adoption.
Yes. There's a reason they're in quarantine. Nothing should be near them,
right,
including humans.
And so when you want to visit with an animal that's in quarantine, we do not allow that. Because if that animal does have something, one, you're getting attached to an animal that possibly might have a different outcome. Two, if it does have something, you risk spreading it and taking it out of the shelter. You might bring it home to your pets if you got it. So until an animal is completely through the quarantine process, then it goes available for adoption. You can call, inquire about them. Unfortunately, I cannot take you into quarantine, and I cannot bring them out of quarantine for you to visit with them. It's for their health and for the health of others.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, and this is probably something that's a good tip anyway. If you go and visit the Humane Society or Animal Control or any of these places, if you have pets at home, you might want to kind of do a bit of a decontamination on yourself a little bit. I mean, you don't have to go and do like the contagion and get in the chemical shower and all that, but you know, like your shoes are probably going to be loaded with bacteria and stuff that might be harmful to your pet. Maybe take them off before you get in the house.
And so when you come into our shelter, we have a bleach mat that you have to step through. So that's why we have the specifications of no sandals, no Crocs, no open-toed shoes, because you physically have to step into this mat.
Sure.
That is changed several times a day to clean the bottom of your shoes. Now, the tops of your shoes, or if you walk through tall grass or whatever, we can't help you with that.
Sure.
But it at least cleans the bottom of your shoes as you go into and as you exit. And that's to help keep you tracking anything in and anything getting tracked out.
Sure. But it might be a good idea, especially if you have animals that are a little sickly. Maybe go ahead and go and do a little, take your shoes off, scrub them
Spray
down.
them with some Lysol.
If your pants and stuff, maybe throw them in the laundry before you, or, just continue to sit down and other things in the house and do other stuff. Just be a little bit more mindful of that. And to be honest, odds are pretty good. Probably nothing will happen. But I would hate for, your dog gets parvo because you went to visit other pets and brought it home with you because it was on your shoe.
Right. And a lot of people don't realize how contagious parvo is.
Yeah.
It is extremely contagious. Vaccinations are a precaution to help keep them from getting the full effect.
Yeah, because once they get it, that could be the death sentence.
Right. It can be.
Yeah.
So just like our vaccinations, when we get like the flu or pneumonia, it's a live virus. So if you have that virus in you and then it hasn't produced enough to show symptoms, and then you go get the vaccination, that enhances what you already have and brings it forward.
It blows it up into parvo. Yeah.
Right. So parvo and distemper are the exact same way. So if an animal has it, but doesn't show any symptoms yet, and you vaccinate them, it's going to draw that virus up and make them have the symptoms and show you.
So you have to test them before you give them the vaccine?
We
usually?
don't.
Okay.
So we do the vaccine, and then within 7 to 10 days of the first vaccination, that's typically when they will show symptoms.
I gotcha. So you wait it out, basically.
We do, and then we test.
Okay. That's part of the quarantining process.
It is. And then if they show any symptoms, then we do a test.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks later, we do a second one. Now, puppies are a lot different than adults. So a puppy will live off of their mom's antibodies until they're 12 weeks of age.
Okay.
So the mom's antibodies will be fighting every virus that's entering their body. So that's why they say 3 to 4 sets of vaccinations. Because the first one you typically do at 6 to 8 weeks of age. And then 2 weeks from there.
Gotcha.
And then a month from that one. And then a month from that one.
So if mom was vaccinated
very
or whatever,
healthy and everything,
pretty good that her antibodies will protect them until that first shot happens.
Right. So when they receive vaccinations after 12 weeks of age, that's when the mom's antibodies are no longer working in their body, and they're building their own.
Gotcha.
And so if they have something, it's going to be harder for them to fight it off because they don't have mom's antibodies.
Makes sense.
So with puppies, we're really, really cautious.
And puppies are like any other infant or young child. Their immune systems and everything haven't developed fully yet.
Right.
So they are more susceptible to these things, just like your children are, because their immune systems and everything hasn't developed fully yet.
Right.
So, same deal here.
It is. It's pretty much the exact same deal.
Yeah.
2 legs versus 4 legs.
Yeah. And matter of fact, that's kind of the same thing when you talk about importance of breastfeeding your children and all that, because in essence, when you're doing that, you're giving your child those antibodies until they can get their vaccinations and things like that.
Right, until they can start building their own immune.
Here. Yeah,
it
same
is.
process. Yeah.
People don't realize how similar we are to cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Very, very similar.
Yeah, and I imagine even all mammals you can make that
pretty
argument
much,
for.
yes.
Yeah,
So it is very important to get your animals vaccinated. If you have a puppy, make sure that they get their complete puppy set.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an adult, make sure that they're getting their boosters. Roswell is an area where we don't have a parvo season. We have parvo all
it's
year round.
always susceptible in this part. Just because of our weather and climate.
It is.
Because it's our moderate climate doesn't give a chance for the parvo to die.
No.
It basically incubates. And then when the weather ingredients are nice, then it comes back tenfold.
So we pretty much have like the breeding grounds for parvo. And it's not like we have our higher times, but we do see parvo all year round here. I deal with all of the vets in town, and I talk to them all frequently, and they'll tell me, hey, we had a customer bring in their dog and their dog tested for parvo. They were out on the west end of town. Or I'll talk to another vet. Hey, we had a couple people bring in their dog and they were tested positive for parvo and they were northeast of town. That just helps me know. So if somebody's bringing in a stray or something from that general area,
you got a bit of a track record already.
I do, and I have an idea. Okay, this dog was in this general vicinity.
This one's in a more higher percentage of possibly having parvo,
right?
Than a dog from say another part of town. Yeah.
Exactly,
makes sense.
So, vaccinate. Vaccinations are not expensive. If you're capable of doing them, you can go purchase them yourself from the feed stores, Roswell Livestock, Tractor Supply.
A lot of times just let your veterinarian take care of that stuff.
And then, or make an appointment and go to the vet so that way they can do it.
And it's a good tip, because odds are, anyway, unless your pet happens to already be spayed or neutered, your pet's going right from the Humane Society to the veterinarian anyway.
Right.
Therefore, you might as well, let's do the wellness check. Let's, get the spay and neuter done. And like you said, check for those other things, making sure just a complete physical on that pet. So if there is a problem, now you can deal with it accordingly and things like that. And so to me, that's just as a responsible pet owner, when that pet leaves the Humane Society to go to the vet of your choosing to get chipped and doing all that stuff, let's go ahead and do the workup, do the physical, let's make sure, obviously the Humane Society does their part to make sure you're healthy, but as now that you're mom and dad, it's all on you. So let's go ahead and see what
it would be no different if you were, bringing home your child.
Absolutely.
You have your 1 month follow up, X amount of follow up. Basically, when we want to find an animal a home, we want to make sure that they're going to a home that's going to treat them like a family member. And not be like a lawn ornament or left outside.
If not, you're not really embracing the point of owning a pet.
No, you're really not. Animals are so much more. They bring so much joy to your life, and they do. When you have a bad day at work and you come home and they're so excited to see you, that's because you are their world.
Absolutely.
And when you leave, they can't tell time. They don't know, okay, so it's 8 o'clock now. Dad will be home at noon, and then he'll be home again at 5:30.
Yeah, they have their internal clocks. They'll know.
They do.
They know when it's time to eat, when it's sleep, when it's time to get.
Yes, they know when dinner is 5 minutes.
They know what
late.
time when you wake up, what time that you go to bed, because they study you. And if you notice, your pets work around your routine as they've been established, and even cats do it. Don't let them fool you.
No,
the cats are very
meticulous for.
They're creatures of habit.
Change.
Oh yeah.
You change one thing and it throws the cat completely off.
Yeah.
Cats are A-type people where they have the list, they write it down, they check it, and nothing changes differently.
They're kind of the Rain Man of the pet world sometimes.
Oh, they are. They are. That is a really good way to put it. They are.
they it's like, oh, Wapner's on at 4 o'clock. Why are we not watching Wapner at 4 o'clock? That's
right.
A cat.
Yes, exactly. Excuse me? It's 4:01.
Yeah, that's a cat.
Yes. So, they go off of you. They learn from you. You teach them what you want them to do, and then they fall into habit with you, cats and dogs.
Yep.
And horses. They can tell time.
They do too. I've never been around a lot of horses. I don't know.
They go off of the sunset. Sunrise, I get fed. Sunset, I get fed.
Right.
Sun's in the middle of the sky, I get treats.
Yeah. And of course they get personal too. They're just like big dogs sometimes. It can be if you treat them right, and you build that relationship up and everything. But that's what we're talking about with these pets. If you be the responsible owner, but make sure that if you're adopting for the right reasons here, and if you're looking to add to your family to get now, granted, yes, people all the time. I'm trying to teach my kid responsibility, give him a dog. That's okay. As long as you, the parent, understand that you are the caregiver. Your kid will forget to feed your dog. Your kid will not let the dog out or let the dog out and the dog will escape. These are things that your kid will do. And you as the parent have to understand you're responsible for that. Need to make sure, that you are actively involved in feeding and raising the dog as your kid is. because your kid will mess it up at some point.
So basically, you just need to be like the supervisor who stands over and watches. And then when they're not doing something right, show them and teach
Absolutely.
them. Don't get mad at them because they're kids. They're going to forget. They have to make mistakes to learn.
Yep. You got basically kids teaching kids at this point.
We were kids at one point, and we had to learn too.
Yeah.
So
and even dogs and cats, even when they know you and are mature and everything else, they still really have the mentality of like a 5-year-old. I mean, that's kind of what cats and dogs are.
They are. They go through their teenager stages, but
at the end of the day, they tantrum and act like a 5-year-old.
They really do.
They love hard. They tantrum hard. They do. Well, like your child.
Exactly. So, don't get mad at your kids for, making mistakes, know, but you need to be there to show them, okay, look, do you see what you did?
Yeah.
Okay, let's not do that again, and let's do it this way.
Yeah. You see how the dog reacted? It doesn't like when you do it that way. This is why, when you grab the tail like that and it reacted that way, it doesn't like that. You got to be mindful of those kind of things. And that's how you learn and teach your children how to be good pet owners too.
Yes.
Teaching that responsibility, because that's an animal. That's a living thing. You treat it and love on it just like you would your kids sometimes. And,
sometimes more.
And sometimes more, Put it this way, the cat dog doesn't talk back like the kids do sometimes. I mean, it does, but doesn't.
Yeah. The spray bottle controls the back talk.
At the end of the day, you always win. I mean, even the cat thinks it won, it didn't.
Right, exactly. The thrift store this week is closed for spring cleaning.
Okay.
So they will reopen
next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, whatever date that is.
That'd be like April 3rd.
3rd.
All right.
Yes. So, they've been going through and trying to clean up stuff and recycle out some older things that haven't been got, and do some really good deep cleaning and
come in for a fresher, newer, probably fuller.
Rearranged because
store.
I walked over there yesterday and I was like, oh my God.
Good deal. Did those chairs get sold?
They did.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad. The one that had more stains, that was mine, because I eat a lot in that one, but the other one was my wife's.
That's funny. If you have donations and you want to make them, just call ahead and then try to set it up and schedule.
Especially big ones like the chairs and things. I to be honest, I gave Crystal like a month head out. I was like, I bought new chairs. I got new ones coming. I'm giving you a warning now. I want to give these to you. And matter of fact, Glenn's was really cool. They brought them directly to you guys.
They did. That was a big help.
Yeah.
But if you have stuff that you want to donate, just call ahead of time, say, hey, I've got this stuff. Can I drop it off? Or can you pick it up? And Camille would be more than happy to try to make any arrangements needed for that.
Yeah, it's they have a limited amount of space.
They do.
And they have a storage area that they can store some things. So, yes, they would love your beds and your couches, but a couple of those and the storage space is filled. And so unless they know they have room for it or know that there's a buyer already ready for it, sometimes they ask if you can hold on to that for a little bit until room. Now, if things clear up, bring that couch on down, or we'll make arrangements to have it picked up or whatever.
Yeah.
But talk and work with them. Just don't bring it down and say, hey, I got a table for you. Call ahead, say, hey, I've got a dining room set I'd like to donate. What's your availability and space and all that? And they'll be happy to take all that stuff.
Yes.
And a matter of factly, they might be like, you know what? I've had 2 people ask for one right now. Bring it on down. I probably won't even sit in our thing. I'm sure I could call and have them meet us here, and they'll pick it up and take it right out of your truck into their truck.
Sometimes that does happen. We're unloading stuff, and people are like, oh, can I buy that? Can I buy that? Camille's like, I don't even have it unloaded and priced yet. Give me a minute.
And if you're looking for stuff, talk to the thrift store staff and say, hey, be on the lookout for, I've been looking for a chair, or I'm looking for a water bed, or I don't think people are still actively seeking water beds, but you never know.
Bunk beds. We'll go bunk beds.
You know what I mean? You're like, hey, I want a fish tank. You gotta look out for a fish tank.
Or Keurigs or microwave.
Yeah.
They're really good about trying to help anybody, especially like when you're somebody who's quite regular there, and you go in and you get to know the staff and everybody that's there, and you talk to them. They're always so inviting and warming and welcoming.
You're like Norm on Cheers. You just walk in and everyone just like, Norm, and then you go and do it.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
You become part of the family, so to speak.
And so if you're looking for something, just say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Here's my number. If you get something in, call me.
Absolutely. And they'd be happy to help you.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
But I work next door,
Well,
but
it is a
I
perk.
do it all the time.
It is a perk. That is one of the perks of your job. You get first dibs on looking at stuff, and much probably to your husband's detriment. You probably have a lot of things in your house that he's like, why did that come out of? I know. I can just hear John's voice now.
Yes and no. The majority of the things, and it's funny because like I'll see something and I'll take a photo and I'll send it to him. I'll be like, hey, babe. And he goes, whatever.
Right.
That's always my response.
My wife does the same move, the photo. I'm like, oh, Lord, here we go.
And then, so I tell him, hey, you need to come down here and look at this. And he's like, why? And I'm like, well, I want your opinion.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I do value his opinion. If, he thinks, no, I don't think that would look good there, or I think that's too big.
Right. Yeah.
Then, there was a hutch.
Right.
That, yes, I wanted it. However, that thing was huge.
Right.
And so I did not get it.
You used your discretion on that.
Mm-hmm. I asked him, I was like, come down, look at it. And he goes, I don't think it's going to work. And I said, okay. So I was like, no.
Good. So you do have restraint.
I do have restraint, except when it comes to gnomes or Pyrex or stuff like that.
Well, I had to, I remember, especially in my early days of marriage, there were a few times, where my wife wanted to make purchases that weren't unnecessary. And I had to, quote unquote, goon hand it down in a little bit and kind of, like if I left my wife to her own devices back in the early years of our marriage, we would have had a brand new bedroom set that we didn't need. She would have bought a Buick Rendezvous because she went in to change a light bulb on her car, and they almost sold her a Buick Rendezvous. And I'm like, no, we don't have a car payment right now. That's by design. I don't want a car payment. No. And so now we have car payments, but those are that's what we did our marriage. We didn't buy new cars. And
right.
I drove my Chrysler LeBaron that I had when I graduated high school. I drove it all through the Air Force, and I drove it the first 4 or 5 years of my marriage. And I sold that piece of junk for like $500 at the end. And
but it served its purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's but back in those days, now it's a little different because we're a little bit better off financially, and we have a nest egg, so to speak. And so it's like, all right, you want the overpriced hutch this time? We can swing it now and all that. But I do goon hand occasionally. Like, really? We just bought one of those, or no? But I know the struggle.
The worst. You need this.
Right.
I don't need that. You need this. No, I don't need that. Where am I going to put that in the kitchen? It only has so much space.
All right.
You'll find a spot.
Oh, so he's out looking for you.
Yes.
Oh, see, that's unusual.
So what it means is he buys it for me, then that means I make something
I
for
was
him.
about to say, is he's looking for food. He's like, I just bought you a bread maker. I better expect bread showing up. Yeah, is that what he's thinking?
Kind of.
Okay, I got you.
Kind of. He found a freaking tortilla machine, and he's like, look, all you have to do is make the dough.
There it is.
It does the rest.
There
I'm
it
like,
is.
No.
He had dancing homemade tortillas in his head.
He did. So, yes, that is his ulterior motive.
Hey.
However, but I do like kitchen gadgets. So you can probably never go wrong if you get a kitchen gadget.
I'm about to
for
say,
me.
you're probably not that hard to sway. He's like,
No.
She's got like 7 George Foremans.
No. Actually, we have like the smokeless grill that we've only ever used like twice.
See, I have a few of those, or a couple things like a Flavor Wave that we used to really use quite often, but I haven't used in about 10 years.
Yeah, we have like random things, I'm like, oh, this looks really cool. We get it, we use it once or twice, and then we're like,
And
okay.
I weeded out when we moved to this house about 7 years ago, I weeded out quesadilla makers and sandwich makers and many of those that sat taking up closet space that we never used or used once. I got rid of all this. So I don't have too many of those left.
Pretty much everything I have that's like appliances is used quite regularly, except for like 1 or 2 things. They're like special occasion type things.
Well, like we have a skillet up there that we won't use it for a month, but then we'll use it like 3 times in a week, and then we won't use it again for a month. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So, just all the time. We probably should wrap this up.
Yeah.
Of course, like you said, thrift store is closed this week. They will be open back to the normal hours starting next Wednesday. Next Wednesday will be just like every other Wednesday, new stuff day.
Yes.
And it'll be actually smelling, a little more Pine Sol and cleaner in there while you're seeing the new stuff.
And they've already started transitioning over from I think Mother's Day is next, right? After
In May. Yeah, that sounds right. Or
So
Easter, and then Mother's Day.
Yeah, well, they'll be close through Easter because Easter's this Sunday. It's
That's
early.
right. So we're done with Easter.
Yeah,
so.
we're done with Easter, so I think they're going to start transitioning to things for like Mother's Day and stuff like that.
Sounds good. So, looking to make mom happy?
Yeah.
Come on by the thrift store.
Yeah.
By the way, Keurig's, not good Mother's Day gifts unless she specifically expresses that to you. No small appliances to mom unless she specifically expresses that to you.
I need a microwave.
Yes.
Get a microwave.
Like
Don't buy your mom a vacuum cleaner for Mother's Day because that's rude.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if there's some, I want that, and that she's adamant, then you do that.
Yes.
But if you're trying to surprise or think it's a good idea, you will find out it was not.
She might not say it was not, but her looks will say it was
You
not.
ain't getting fresh tortillas. Just saying. Just telling you.
Yeah,
you will not be
you were
getting
not.
fresh tortillas.
You were not.
Of course, like you said, RoswellHumane.org. If you want to donate for the roof or anything else, if you want to see all the pets that are home for adoption, of course, you can always come by the shelter here during normal business hours and then see what pets are available as far as cats and dogs, and check back often too if you don't find the one. And if you don't find a pet that just sings to you,
Check it out, Animal Control.
walk right next door to Animal Control, and either way, you're rescuing a pet, a dog or a cat. If spots open up at the Humane Society, they go and rescue some of the short list pets that are on the list over at the Animal Control there. So either way, you're rescuing pets and doing good. So.
From one place or the other, it's still saving a life.
Absolutely. Well, as always, thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
And if John wants, if John doesn't earn the tortillas, you can bring them here. We'll take them.
It's like I make them from scratch, and I have my specific rolling pin.
That's right.
That
And he's
he's
trying to
been
mess
hit
up
with.
the system.
No, he's been hit with it.
Oh.
So he doesn't want the rolling pin in the action
So he
because he
thinks-
could steal them and not get hit.
Oh, so he thinks the tortilla maker will stop him from getting hit.
Yeah.
Well, you just throw the tortilla maker.
I know it was big. It was like a assembly
Oh,
line.
too big.
Like
Okay.
you dump the dough in.
Okay.
It rolls it out, flattens it, and cooks it, and then drops it
Oh
down.
wow, it's a whole like
Yeah, like the old furs on. Yeah, how they had the tortilla machine in there. Yeah, it was like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, where are we gonna put that? He goes, I'll add onto the kitchen. No,
like-
you will not.
It's like buy Jeopardy the home edition.
Yeah, it was big like that.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, okay, now I see why you didn't get that or why you wanted.
Yes. No, I make them homemade. I roll.
That's right. Well, rolling pins are cheap. If he steals the one, you just buy 10 more. Keep one in every drawer.
I have a marble rolling pin.
Ooh, there you go. There you go. That'll do some damage.
It does. Ask him.
Thank you, Crystal. We'll see you next time, John. That's why he's got a lumpy head. All right, it's 9:50. I don't know if he does. I'm just going to go with that. 9:58. Let's do a quick Wall Street business update before you kick me off the radio. Don't go away.
With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason. The U.S. economy grew at a solid 3.4% annual pace from October through December. It's an upward revision of the government's previous fourth quarter estimate. It was driven by robust consumer spending. The U.S. job market remains resilient in the face of some pretty stiff economic headwinds. Unemployment applications dropped slightly to 210,000 last week. Home Depot will shell out more than $18 billion to buy SRS Distribution, a materials provider for professional contractors. Among SRS customers, professional roofers, landscapers, and pool contractors. Ford will drastically cut the number of hourly workers at its factory that builds the Ford F-150 Lightning as sales of electric vehicles slow. That's according to the Detroit Free Press and the Louisville Courier. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason.
Roswell's home for talk radio is 106.5 FM, KEND Roswell.
Just learning now that FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried has just been sentenced to 25 years in prison. That for a cryptocurrency fraud that one prosecutor had described as, quote, one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history. Coast Guard says that ship that crashed into a bridge in Baltimore had just undergone routine engine maintenance and no major problems at all had been found. Also, the bodies of 2 of 6 workers who plunged into the water have now been recovered. And NTSB Chief Executive Jennifer Hamady says the ship's cargo did include several containers of hazardous material.
That's 764 tons of hazardous materials, mostly corrosives, flammables, and some miscellaneous hazardous materials, Class 9 hazardous materials, which would include lithium-ion batteries.
Also at townhall.com, as expected, Israel not at all happy with the United States after the U.S. decided not to use veto power on that UN Security Council resolution for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Former State Department senior advisor Mary Kissel says the U.S. decision plays right into the hands of the terrorists.
Effectively, what we're doing is we're isolating Israel in the court of public opinion and essentially gave a green light to actors like Hamas to continue their terror.
The pink slips may be falling next week at Ford. The automaker reportedly plans drastic cuts in the number of hourly workers at its Dearborn, Michigan factory that builds the F-150 Lightning pickup truck as sales of electric vehicles start to slow. Former Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman has died. He was 82. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Biden has started tracking Christians like cattle. Yes, you heard it right. He pressured banks to tag transactions for certain keywords. One of them is Holy Bible. That's a horrifying and creepy attack on our religious freedoms. It's made possible by a digital financial system that makes you a sitting duck. But you do have other options. I recommend a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. I'm Lance Wallnow, a news analyst, a best-selling author, and evangelical leader to people who cherish their financial independence. A precious metals IRA can help you avoid the scrutiny of Biden's anti-Christian bureaucracy while also preserving your retirement savings. To find out more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word faith to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see how a gold IRA can help you. Text faith to 989898. There are no strings attached. So text faith to the number 989898 right now and take action to protect your own prosperity.
Well, the situation between the Philippines and China apparently not getting any better. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says his country will implement countermeasures proportionate and reasonable against attacks by China's Coast Guard and maritime militia in the South China Sea.
Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said there have been constant attacks from Chinese vessels in disputed waters. He said the Philippines didn't want conflict, but wouldn't be cowed into silence. So he's authorized a package of countermeasures against China, although he didn't say what they were. Mr. Marcos suggested the Philippines' ally, the United States, would help. There have been a number of confrontations between China and the Philippines in the South China Sea. This dispute now has the potential to become even more dangerous.
BBC correspondent Michael Bristow. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com. U.S. economy grew at a 3.4% annual pace from October through December.
The Commerce Department says the latest figure was an upgrade from its previous estimate of 3.2%. The department's revised measure of the nation's gross domestic product confirmed that the economy decelerated from its 4.9% rate of expansion in the July to September quarter. But last quarter's growth came in the face of higher interest rates and was powered by growing consumer spending, exports and business investment in buildings and software.
That is correspondent Jeremy House reporting. Home Depot is buying SRS Distribution, a materials provider for professionals. The deal valued at approximately $18.25 billion. Home improvement retailer says the acquisition should help speed up its growth with contractors. More on